Hey guys, it's Courtney Carson from Cosmic Clarity Astrology, and today I'm excited to talk about the Aquarius solar eclipse happening on February 17th. So, what are we going to expect from this? One of the major elements of Aquarius is the idea on a soul level that it's here to help us ascend, that it's here to give us a higher perspective on something, to change, advance, and create progress around something, especially on a societal level. So I do think that one of the biggest pieces of this eclipse is to awaken some part of us that is going to help us see something with clearer eyes, especially because this eclipse is squaring Uranus, which is the modern ruler of Aquarius. And Uranus is often a planet associated with truth, awakening, clarity. And I do feel like the word judgment is coming in here as well, where we're getting information and we're going to have to make a judgment call around the way that we're perceiving something. But again, all of this is meant to be something that helps us ascend, helps us elevate, helps us improve and overcome something that has maybe felt outdated. This is an especially powerful time this month because not only are we in eclipse season, which does have an energetic imprint for the next 6 months, but we're also going to be having a few days after this eclipse, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, which is pretty much already there right now and even at this eclipse, but it will become exact on the 20th of February. This is very important because Saturn is the ruler of Aquarius and it aligns with Neptune very rarely in the sky. Saturn and Jupiter are the planets that help us construct society. When one or both of these planets interacts with a planet that's much slower, that is much further away from us, the experience that we get is almost like this kind of cosmic realignment of society, and it's a rare new chapter unfolding. So basically, that's what we're going through right now. Saturn and Neptune coming together in the sky is related to a sense of disillusionment, disappointment, and feeling like this soul level exhaustion with the way that things are going. We realize that something is no longer tolerable, sustainable, that the things that our approaches, our perspective, or the way that we've been doing things is just no longer going to work for us on a personal level, but also even more so on a collective level, because of course, Saturn is a collective societal planet. And in particular, Saturn deals with our government, our institutions, our authorities, our traditions, the powers that be, and the powers that have always been. So when Neptune comes into contact with Saturn, there is, again, this disillusionment where we see and we look out to the powers that be and we recognize that they are not stepping up to the plate. They are not doing what they said they would do. They are maybe telling lies, that they are corrupt, or that they, and I think this is all very clear from what we're seeing with the Epstein files being released. I think it's so far beyond, just political parties. So if you want to argue in the comments, go for it. I don't care. But I think that this is so far beyond that, and that is a form of distraction. And Aquarius is the uniting of the people against the corrupt elites, which is Leo. And I don't think we're really going to start to see this kind of like full pushback until the summer, which is going to be like kind of like July time. I think that's when we're going to start to really see people fully kind of taking up the mantle and coming together and uniting in a way that we haven't been, because we've been so divisive between parties. But I think that we're going to get an inkling of that now at this Aquarius eclipse, because again, Aquarius is the people, it's the masses, it's the ones who are suffering because of the decisions, the selfish decisions of a few. And again, I think that this eclipse is really going to awaken us to this corruption and awaken us to what is going on kind of behind our backs by people who, with the Saturn being in Aries and ruling this eclipse, people who have been self-centered, self-focused, selfish, putting themselves above the rest, putting a single person or the person in charge or whoever above the good of all. And I think that that's going to become abundantly clear at this time. And again, I think we're going to start to see some signs of pushback as people start to awaken and see how things have really been lacking in terms of responsibility, accountability, the way that things, again, need to be managed, need to be taken care of. Those things are really going to become apparent, how they have been left undone or poorly done, or where we are, again, where there was secrets or things being hidden or people protected, those things will start to come to light. And there will be a sense of the people realizing that someone needs to take ownership for what has happened, and what is happening, and people realizing that there is that they have the power of leadership and impact as well. Because again, Aquarius as a collective sign, especially squaring Uranus, has a kind of rebellious energy to it, where people realize that as a mass amount of people, you can affect change if everybody is on the same page, and realizing that there is leadership and power within a larger collective. And so again, I think people are really going to start to kind of forge their own sense of independence and leadership as a result of this eclipse. And I think that's going to really take the full 6 months to unfold. But seeing things clearly is the first step that comes with that square to Uranus. And the most likely thing to happen is that there will be some kind of sudden revelation of some sort. So you could say maybe the Epstein files being more released, I guess, than it was before could be a sign of this. But I think it's likely going to be another event transpiring a little bit closer to the eclipse, where we're seeing things kind of like pulling back the curtain and seeing something that was there all along influencing us or influencing the powers that be. And it's going to be an undeniable truth, an undeniable realization and awakening to the inner workings of, again, in my opinion, the elite. I really, really think over the course of these next 2 years or so, we're really going to feel the haves and the have-nots, the elites versus the people. And I think it's going to, again, go so beyond personal beliefs and personal parties and, us having inner fighting. I think it's so far beyond that. And it will get to a point where it's just undeniable and so bad where people have to unite. At least that is the astrological highest outcome, is that people will come together. Whether people choose to do that or not is also up to our free will. But yeah, I think that there is some level of clarity, and on a personal level, that's more so the collective. But yeah, I definitely think that we're going to expect some type of ownership or apology or making amends for something that's been done. I also pulled this ship card. So this does to me indicate that there could be some kind of negative consequences to international relations, international trade, the way that multiple countries are connected. There could be something that's going on there, something with shipping, taxes. I don't know. There could be something going on there that becomes disrupted, because Aquarius is also in charge of these kinds of connective tissues almost, or these structures within society that are laterally represented, not hierarchical, but these systems that unite and connect us all on a more unified plane, like a library, for example. Not one person's in charge of the library. The library is a collective space that benefits people, and we put money towards it as a collective. So it's something like a library. That concept is going to be disrupted at this time. So it could be, again, maybe some kind of way of, again, shipping or connecting or spreading information or something along those lines, some kind of institution or entity or whatever, that could be disrupted because, again, Uranus is very disruptive. It is going to create a sudden change. a sudden realization, erratic behavior, instability of some sort, rebelliousness. That's kind of the energy of this eclipse. So we're going to see that on a collective scale of some sort, but I think we will also see it on a personal level as well, where there are going to be areas of our life where we start to realize that we maybe, again, Aquarius is an energy around ascension and awakening and realization. So if there is some area of your personal life that you need to awaken to, that you need to see it through new eyes and show how maybe you have shown up, or how you've been maybe not holding boundaries with something. And this is kind of speaking to the influence of Saturn being in Aries, and with Neptune there, and this planet being the ruler of this eclipse. You know, Saturn in Aries is a lot about the self. It's a lot about, you know, personal responsibility. It's also about doing something different or starting something new, because 0 Aries is the first degree of the first sign of the zodiac. So there is something that we're awakening to, where we're seeing this pattern in our life, a cycle, a system that we're a part of, a pattern again that we're choosing, maybe certain types of relationships, maybe certain types of thought patterns, maybe the way you spend energy, or the food that you eat, or the way that you spend money, or the job that you have. It can be so different for everybody, but there's going to be some type of repetitive thing happening that you've been a part of that you are going to awaken to. It could be you awaken to it because, with that square to Uranus, because something sudden happens, like somebody says or does something very suddenly that affects you, and that disrupts the pattern, that interrupts the pattern of some sort. Or maybe it gets to a point where it's just stacking and stacking and stacking, and it becomes undeniable that there is some type of pattern there. Maybe people act very strangely, or again, events unfold very strangely or very quickly, very erratically. And maybe there is a shock to the system, but there is some type of, again, cyclical thing going on, some type of repetitive pattern that is going to be disrupted because of an outside influence, or maybe just personal awareness, where you awaken to almost like the hologram, like a matrix, where you awaken to something and all of a sudden you're looking at your life through new eyes and you're like, how did I not see this before? All these things are interconnected. The fact that I don't have boundaries, you know, or I'm making this personal decision, or I'm feeling this way about myself, then affects this area of my life and this area of my life and this area of my life. And it's all connected and feeding back to me as the center. So there's something like that, where it of course comes from the self and then is interconnected to the outer layers of our life. So there's something like that we're going to awaken to, and we're going to see the pattern, we're going to see the interconnected layers, and we're going to recognize the core of it, which is ourselves, and awaken to what needs to change. Of course, this isn't going to happen for everybody. Everybody's at different layers of consciousness. So yeah, I think people will awaken, like maybe people who are kind of have like lower levels of consciousness. It'll be things that are really simple. Like, okay, I don't feel good when I drink. Maybe I shouldn't drink as much, kind of like more on the surface type of things that's available to them. But then if you've been doing a lot of inner work, and if you've been very self-aware and like very aware of your body, and maybe you go into therapy, maybe you meditate, and all these things that like connect you to the inner workings of your world and your life, you might start to get really deep into what this means about you, into the way that you're showing up for your life, and how you can break that pattern. And I think one of the biggest things is that we're really going to notice what is missing. We're really going to notice what we're not having, what we want that we, again, don't have yet, or the lack essentially in our life. And it could feel kind of heavy. And that's a really common experience of Saturn and Neptune together. These can be kind of depressive planets. They can drain us spiritually, emotionally, physically. They can challenge our sense of reality. They can have us ask really important and soul level questions that are existential in nature. Like, why am I here? What is this all about? I'm tired. What's the purpose of anything? Like, right now. It's very common with Saturn Neptune. So if you're going through that sense of disillusionment and depression and exhaustion, and you're trying to figure your way out, but you don't understand maybe all of the ways out and how to make it better and how to finally take things into your hands and change it and reverse some kind of pattern or stop it. Really, I think the biggest thing that we can do right now is just rest. Because we're going to see it, we're going to notice that we're going through a process of ascension. And one of the biggest parts of that is being able to hold all of that. I was talking to my friend Zoe the other day, and one of the words that was coming up for her in her life is the word capacity. So I think that our capacity might be smaller because there's actually a lot going on. There's a lot going on in the collective, but also energetically and spiritually, there's a lot going on behind the scenes and to our spiritual and physical bodies that we don't realize. We're going through this process of, again, awakening and upgrading and transforming. And that is very taxing to the system on all levels. And so the most important thing that we can do right now is self-care, is rest, is nourishment. And something else I was talking about with Zoe was that they're all different kinds of rest. So you might need physical rest. You might need rest in terms of relationships and having different kinds of relationships, or actually connecting with people if you've been really isolated. Maybe there's rest when it comes to the soul and like the spiritual life. Maybe you need more connection to God or whatever. So there's something around that where you can look at what kind of rest you need. I personally feel like I am in the need of deeper soul rest. So I've been really seeking that out through sound healing, yoga, meditation, journaling, and these kinds of videos I find quite helpful. So things like that to really come back to your sense of self, to open up your capacity a little bit more so that you can, over these next 6 months, integrate the awakening that you are having now and make those changes along the way. It should be a slow burn rather than a sudden integration. So it will be a sudden realization or a sudden thing that is kind of opening up within you that will happen quite quickly with Uranus. But the actual action that then stems from that, where we create more balance in our life and we come back to homeostasis, is going to take time, and it is going to involve rest. So having patience is really key. And then also recognizing where you have personal power, where you have personal responsibility and contribution and agency involved in the patterns that are arising in your life that you're becoming aware of. And I asked, like, what are we going to get from this? Like, what is kind of what's happening to us on this personal level? And I got the Fool and the Page of Pentacles. So we're really having this fresh new start with something, so that once we do break that pattern with this Saturn Neptune, again, at 0 Aries, the first degree of the first sign of the zodiac, it is this point of conception, this point of birth, this point of pure initiation and potential. That is where we're going to be coming from. So we really get to kind of clean the slate. And this could be happening on a collective level as well, where we're like, we can't, I was reading a comment the other day of somebody online saying, we can't vote our way out of these issues, because it was a video on the Epstein files. And we're talking about the corruption of these people in power. And that person was saying that we can't just vote our way out of it. We can't operate within the same system to fix the system, because it's so far gone. And this is what I feel like this Uranus eclipse, square Uranus, is really starting to paint the picture of, that is going to rile people up more in July, and maybe even the eclipses in August. I think people are really going to get the sense of unrest, that the system itself is broken and that we cannot just fix it. We have to remove it. It's like if a whole place is filled with asbestos, maybe that's not the best example, but if the foundation of something in your home is all wrong, you can't just build on top of it. You have to break it down and rebuild the foundation itself. So that's what I think is happening on a collective and personal scale, where we break the pattern, we interrupt the system of the collective or of our personal patterns in our life, we interrupt it, and then we slowly work our way into having a fresh start where we're like, okay, I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to engage in that type of thing anymore, that issue that's causing me pain, that's causing me suffering. Instead, I want this completely fresh new start, and I want to build from there. And all of it is a process of learning. The fool is a fool because they don't know what they don't know, and they're starting on a path that's entirely new. So it's okay to feel like you're kind of stumbling in these next 6 months, trying to figure out, okay, I recognize that pattern. I recognize kind of what I'm doing, but actually making those changes is hard, is going to take time. It's going to take things failing and picking yourself up again, and that's okay. And we need to have patience for ourselves in that process. And the Three of Pentacles represents also seeking support, seeking, people who are good at this, people who already know how to do this, people that you can learn from, that you can also confide in, or maybe you're doing this together. There's some element there of either camaraderie or mentorship or just networking and connection that is really, really key to an Aquarius eclipse. It might feel like we are somewhat isolated right now because this eclipse is squaring Uranus, and Uranus often has this capability of creating this feeling of separation and disconnection from ourselves, from others, whatever, from anything. But what I feel like this Aquarius eclipse is doing is it's helping us to stand on our own right now, to kind of recognize where the problem is. And then I think as we rebuild ourselves, we are meant to come together. So there may be an immediacy where we are solo, where we feel, again, that disconnect. But it's only to create maybe enough space or realization or the right environment to have that awakening around ourselves. And then I think the true nature of Aquarius will unfold over the next 6 months, which is about this kind of neural network, this kind of connection and community. And we can see that here with the tree card, because the tree is extremely grounded. It's very rooted. It has a strong sense of stability and durability because of its long and deep network of roots. And then also trees will communicate to one another through, I believe, through the roots. So there is a sense of camaraderie and community where everyone is deeply rooted and supporting one another. So that's what I feel like is the highest possible outcome of this Aquarius eclipse. And we should always be striving, of course, for that highest possible outcome. There's a lot more that I could say about Saturn and Neptune together. I'm going to do a separate video on this next Friday if I have the capacity. But I think that one of the things that I do want to leave you with is that there is a very strong spiritual influence with this eclipse. And a lot of it is because the ruler of this eclipse is sitting next to Neptune, which is the planet that connects us to kind of the ether of the spiritual world, of that thin veil where we can speak to the divine. So if your soul feels called at this time towards something or someone, and it's a mystery and you don't understand it, and you just maybe don't even have it all figured out of how you would do it, I would really urge you to listen to that instinct, because we're psychically more open and our soul is trying to reach out for something that we can grasp onto that will help lift us into this next ascension, or again, next phase of our consciousness. So maybe in the case with my friend Zoe that I've been talking about, maybe she feels really called to dance and that helps her into her next level. Maybe it's a relationship with somebody. Maybe it's a habit. Maybe it's a structure. Whatever it is, there's something that I think your soul is really going to call you towards. And it's going to be important, again, to listen. So that's what I'm seeing for just an overarching collective energy. But let's go ahead and dive into what this will look like for the rising and the sun sign for everybody. All right, so up first we have Aries rising and sun. This Aquarius eclipse is happening in your 11th house, and I should say solar eclipse. It's a new moon, and it is squaring Uranus in your second house. So I'm going to break this down into 3 sections. The first is what is the disruption, because Uranus squaring an eclipse is disruptive. And I've been talking about it in the overview. A pattern is just disrupting in particular in our lives. What is the ascension? Where are you growing, evolving, changing as a result of this eclipse? And then what is the advice? So let's start off with what is being disrupted. With Uranus squaring this eclipse and Uranus being in your second house, there is something here around potentially like your physical and material world that could be changing to some degree. So the second house is our money, it's our finances, it's the way that we manage it, where if we have property, it's that, or like anything you own. So on a material plane, there could be something that is shifting for you in that regard, where maybe some random expense comes up or something happens in terms of the things that you own, or maybe you're shifting perspectives in some way because of some event or something that makes you think differently about finances. This could also be independence as well. The second house is largely where we are self-reliant, and Uranus here is especially speaking to that. And also as an Aries rising, that's something, and with Saturn moving into your sign, you are really focused in many ways on like doing things on your own, of being your own leader, of setting some kind of precedent for yourself, or being a pioneer in your life in some way, and having to stand on your own 2 feet to do those things. So maybe taking on a new challenge is part of what this Aquarius eclipse is going to awaken for you. That is going to potentially in some ways be a solo activity. But it's interesting because this eclipse is in your 11th house, which is this placement of community and a belonging. So you might in some ways at this time feel like you are a little bit like outcast. You may feel like things are, I don't know, with the Tower and the 3 of Swords, and this is part of your ascension, I feel like you're going to feel like you just don't belong in the same spaces as you used to belong. And this is the universe trying to push you out, because you're meant to do something on your own over these next 2.5 years that is going to require you to get out of your comfort zone with the 3 of Wands. Maybe you're going to end up having to travel somewhere, move somewhere, go to a new company. Like, again, I feel like there's something that you're going to take on, a new project, a new level of development, a new idea or goal, something that you can't do in your existing community, that you can't do if you keep hanging out with the same people, or you keep at the same job, or you stay in the same house. Like, there is this idea of feeling like it kind of gets taken away for some reason. Like maybe your friends suddenly act differently towards you, or this community that you thought you're a part of is suddenly making you feel ostracized, or maybe there's just some level of like heartbreak and disconnect and loss that's coming through, where you used to connect with these people in this environment, but now it's not working anymore. But again, with the 3 of Wands, it's helping you push yourself to a new place, to a new space, because when one door closes, another opens, as they say, and you wouldn't have looked for that other door opening if this one didn't close on you. So it's like it has to be broken to the point where you can't turn back and try to go and fix it. Instead, you have to move forward, and you'll look at new places that you wouldn't have considered, or new ideas or things that you wouldn't have considered without that push. So that's kind of answering both of these things. But the Queen of Swords, the strength, and then the Justice in reverse. So the thing that's being disrupted, I feel like there could be, I'm going to come back to that strength card. I feel like your sense of truth around something is what's being challenged here. Like people might see things in a different way, or there might be, just like really different approaches to something, or really different versions of reality with the Queen of Swords upright and the Justice in reverse. This could be why you feel like you can't return, because maybe some things were said or done, but especially words and thoughts, because of the Swords card. Something was said or something was done, or a line was drawn in the sand where you can't, take those things back, and you can't make it better. So I'm getting the sense that it was unfair or imbalanced or unjust. And maybe these individuals or this like whatever you're involved in, maybe it was like a poor reflection of you. Like they weren't seeing you actually how you see yourself, or maybe it was bringing out the worst in you, or maybe they were like literally seeing the opposite as you in terms of a situation. Like they just not being able to see eye to eye, and having almost an unfair painting of your character or of the situation. Yeah, just something that is unfair. And I feel like you were staying in there with the Strength card and you were trying to make it work. The Strength is like, I'm going to push through. I'm going to make this. Yeah, I'm just going to endure this. And I feel like that is what is being disrupted, is this feeling that things are unfair and people are like not being like, their truth is different from my truth, but I'm still like trying to make it work. And it could feel really forced. So that, again, I feel like you're going to end up getting to a place with this square to Uranus where it's undeniable that you have to leave. And that could potentially change your like financial or material reality because of that. So like if you decide to move somewhere else or change jobs or whatever, that would affect your material reality with that square to Uranus in the second. And again, with Saturn in your first, this is a lot around building up a new sense of self, going on this kind of adventure where you're really going to strive for something that you've always wanted or that you've put on the back burner, or you're going to develop yourself in this really powerful way. And I just think that you wouldn't have been able to do that if you're wasting energy on trying to like make something fit where the truth wasn't resonating with someone else's, or the environment's truth wasn't resonating with who you are as a person. So your advice is she who divines future choice and judgment. I feel like this is really clearly saying that you guys need to focus on the future and who you want to become, which is very characteristic of a solar eclipse in the 11th house. Focus on where you're headed rather than all the destruction in your wake. You don't need to focus on why didn't I fit there? I got to figure all that out. It's like that's all, that pattern is being disrupted so that you can build something entirely new of yourself. So think about, who do I want to be? What do I want to become? What do I want to have? Or what do I want to do with my life? What is really important for me as a soul? Like what is substantial for me to accomplish within my character or within the things that I do or the places that I go? Again, a lot of it is about the self, but yeah. So ultimately that's the focus here, is on the intention and the vision and the direction that you're going in, looking forward, not back. Because really, you know, like they say when you're driving, you want to look at where you're going, because if you're looking at this car behind you, you might be swerving off the road or you might hurt where you are now. So keep these blinders on and not try to force something that isn't meant to work. Allow yourself to grieve and move past the loss of whatever this is, and embrace this new beginning that's trying to unfold for you. It's okay if it takes time, because this is an eclipse that energetically will last 6 months. So allow it to unfold at its own pace and just keep looking forward. So that's what I see for you, Aries. If that resonates, let me know in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. I am trying to grow my YouTube channel, so I'd really appreciate hyping the video or sharing it with a friend or anything like that. And if you aren't subscribed, please do. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have Taurus rising and sun. So this Aquarius solar eclipse on February 17th is happening in your 10th house of career. But the 10th house is so much more than career. It's our sense of direction. It can be related to the kind of momentum that propels us towards a purpose or destination in life. The 10th house is often related to our reputation or our family, because it will reflect what's going on behind closed doors, like how people see us out in the world, if that makes sense. So this eclipse is going to create some kind of ascension in that area of your life. And it's squaring Uranus, which is in your first house. So there is going to be some kind of disruption, likely within yourself or your relationships with that square to Uranus, that is going to cause this kind of change in your sense of direction in life. And the ruler of this eclipse is Saturn, which is conjunct Neptune in your 12th house. So this is going to be a very spiritual time. So let me get into the cards and relate that to kind of what I'm seeing with the astrology. So I pulled the cards to talk about what is being disrupted because of that square to Uranus in your first house. And we got the Hermit card. This makes a lot of sense with an eclipse where the ruler is in the 12th and where Uranus is in your first. You may go through a little bit of a period where you are feeling potentially more alone with this Hermit card. It's not like alone in a negative way, although I do see the 10 of Pentacles in reverse, which could feel alone in a negative way. If you're really connected to your family, you might feel distant from them, or the family unit might be somehow disrupted. Like if you're married, you might be going through a rocky period or even separating. If you are, this could also speak to like your legacy and your finances and your stability in that regard. That could feel also maybe somewhat tenuous. Like you maybe felt really certain about your career or financially stable, and then things start to get rocky and uncertain. And I feel like the Hermit is really speaking to how the things that once really felt stable, like again, maybe family or money or career, those kind of pillars of your life could be going through a shakeup and could be disrupted. And with the Hermit, it's causing you to go within and really reflect on like what would stability look like in this new era that you're going in, essentially. And I think that you guys are really going to be questioning a lot of things, or you're going to be having this kind of spiritual awakening about the foundations of your life. Again, I think the foundations are unstable, and it's making you go into this really spiritual, very intuitive place with this Queen of Cups, like very emotionally in tune with yourself, intuitively in tune with yourself. Like this is somebody who's starting to realize like this way of working is negatively affecting me, or this family dynamic is draining me, or this expectation, or even this goal, or even this, like, again, this kind of thing that I've put a lot of my energy into, or this way of my making money, or this thing that I've been using to hang my hat on that's stable. It's like I see you getting really, really sensitive and seeing how there might be something about it that's not quite right for you, or that needs some elevation or adjustment. Again, with this Saturn and Neptune in the 12th, I really feel like this is a deeply introspective period of time for you, where you are really connecting to spirit, where you might be getting dreams that give you very important signals of what's coming in or what's meant to be leaving. And again, this is in particular associated with some type of stable foundation in your life, with the 10 of Pentacles in reverse, either associated with career and money or family, or maybe a mix of all three. So if there is a disruption in this area of your life, just recognize that it's here to help you come back to this, like, again, this kind of spiritual awakening place. And the ascension that's ultimately going to happen, I feel like, is really beautiful. I think there's two things that are going to happen for you. First, we have the Hierophant and the Queen of Swords. So it's funny because we're talking about ascension, and the Hierophant is literally looking like you go up the steps. But the Hierophant can often be associated with like traditional institutions, which the 10th house is as well. So this is like the business that you work for, or the government, or the school that you're a part of, and kind of working your way up that ladder. So there's something here with that I feel like you're going to gain clarity on with the Queen of Swords, and use your sword of discernment to say no or yes, and clarify your commitments in regards to those traditional institutions, or your goals and like your career development, things like that are more, again, kind of like material driven, materialistic. But this card, the Hierophant, is also like this spiritual transcendence is happening. So I feel like some of you guys might be again, having more of like a spiritual awakening that is going to impact your career. And I see those molding together. So it's not just like, oh, I'm doing this traditional job that I've always done, but almost like you're spiritualizing your work more, or you're approaching it entirely different. I just see you ascending in some way where, you know, as a Taurus rising, maybe the idea of like money and stability and, you know, the normal structures of the world that we take, that we find, what's the word? Not take delight, but like that we use to feel better, basically. I feel like you guys are going to be less attached to those. Not that you're not going to be elevating your career and your life financially, but I just think that you're going to be less attached to those things. And I think that you're going to be more spiritually motivated, and it's going to help you ascend in your career on the material plane as well, but being done differently. I just think you're going to have a lot of, again, like honesty with yourself and clarity. And this person looks like they've just peaked a summit at like on Everest. Like, so I feel like you guys are going to be really accomplished because of these changes that you're making. But I feel like you're going to oddly like care less about material success. And we have the other ascension that's happening is Nine of Swords in reverse and Two of Cups. So I feel like if there was broken bonds with family, or if you have felt like alone as a soul or disconnected, and if you maybe are single for a long time, or you've had, you know, again, broken bonds of some sort, I really see the stress of that ending and you finding someone, or finding that stability, or reconnecting to those relationships and harmonizing again. So if you have, you know, if you're going through a separation, that would be you guys within the family finding your stability again, and maybe even finding a new person. So it's like two more the merrier kind of thing. So that's what I'm seeing here. Is like the part of the ascension that you're getting is, I feel like you're going to go through this really big spiritual awakening in your life, but I think you're also going to find kind of your people, or feel good about the relationships that you have where it once felt uncertain. So your advice here is, she who doubts, fear, wariness, and trust. I feel like part of your advice is to learn how to develop this sort of discernment with the Queen of Swords, where you can trust yourself more, trust your instincts more, trust your intuition more, and act on them more quickly and deliberately. Not like in an impulsive way where you're reacting to things, but I just think with the Hermit, I think you're going to be so much more in tune with yourself that you're going to know, okay, this is a no, or I need to reprioritize this or change this, and set maybe certain boundaries with certain things. So yeah, I just think trusting yourself, and also maybe working on relationships to where there has been broken trust. If there is some kind of secret revealed at this time around work or relationship dynamics, maybe you have to rebuild that trust at this eclipse. And we also have the other advice, she who prepares, formulate strategy, devise. Yeah, I really feel like you guys are going to be elevating your career, like elevating your like goals and your ambitions in life, and creating a really good strategy for how to get what you want, but not just a strategy based off of like the material world, but a strategy that comes from your intuition, your instinct, your spiritual connection, your emotions, like something that feels personal and creatively inspired, rather than formulaic from out in the world of like, this is how it's always been done. Aquarius is about innovation and progress. And I think that to do that, you have to embrace your authentic expression and your authentic ideas that are, again, innovative. So yeah, I think that just to recap, I think that what is being disrupted is there going to be potentially some either work / money or family things that could feel out of whack right now. And it's kind of forcing you inward to a hermit mode, to be really psychic, really in tune with yourself. And from that place, you're going to be able to make a plan for how to elevate your career, your ambitions, your goals. And I think you will also find either new love or stabilize your relationships in a way that has felt really anxious, you're going to heal all of that. So that's what you're getting, Taurus. I hope that this is a beautiful eclipse for you. Remember, it will take 6 months for all of this to unfold. Of course, the initial energy is now, but we really need to take our time with this. So have patience with yourself. You are changing a lot with that square to Uranus in the first. This is a big eclipse for you. So again, be patient and give yourself credit for how far you've already come. So if you've enjoyed this, please let me know in the comments down below. I am trying to grow my channel, so I appreciate any support, a subscription, a thumbs up, a comment, a hype, sharing it with somebody, anything like that. Hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next is Gemini rising and sun. This Aquarius solar eclipse happening on February 17th is taking place in your 9th house. And it's squaring Uranus in your 12th. The ruler of this eclipse, Saturn, is conjunct Neptune in your 11th. So what does this all mean? I think that you guys are entering into a new phase where your concepts of relationships especially, but not even just relationships, but yeah, your concepts of your life and like your perspective on your life and your beliefs about your life and recognizing patterns that exist and also how those really show up in your relationships are going to be undergoing a major shift. So I pulled some cards that pertain to what is shifting, like, or what is being disrupted, and then where is there an ascension, because this eclipse squaring Uranus indicates that there is going to be a disruptive energy. Uranus in the 12th can also indicate some type of loss. And I also pulled the 10 of Swords in that disruptive energy, which is an ending that you can't go back from. So a definitive ending. So I do think that something is leaving your life around this time, my Geminis, and you are recognizing that there is no going back. I do think it's relationships because of the 3 of Pentacles that appeared after, or it could be people that you work with or collaborate with, the people that you see on a day-to-day basis or talk to often or thought were part of your network. Again, very Aquarian topics, like as an air sign, very social topics. There's something about that that's definitively ending, and it's causing a disruption because people are leaving your life. The 10 of Swords can also speak to some kind of feeling of betrayal or like the trust being broken. So maybe something is revealed, a truth is revealed. This is quite common with Uranus in the 12th. Like what's being disrupted is that a truth is revealed that maybe you didn't understand or know about that person or your dynamic with this person. And it's causing some type of, again, disruption. This could relate to people that you work with. So how close you are to them and the kind of people they are in your life, the type of relationship is going to really vary from person to person because this isn't in your 7th house, but the ruler of this eclipse is in the 11th, which is the area of our community, on our friendships. And it can speak to varying degrees of closeness with the 11th house, but it's someone that you thought that you could, again, kind of collaborate with or see eye to eye with about something or work in a group with, or maybe you went to school with them or, again, worked with them in some way. I think that you're going to see something for how it truly is, or they will suddenly up and leave, or there's going to be some disruption there. We also have the Queen of Pentacles in reverse and Empress upright. So there is something that may, and this could potentially be connected or it doesn't have to be, but there's something that might be disrupting your sense of like groundedness, because the Queen of Pentacles is pertaining to the energy of us being able to really take care of our physical material reality, as well as like our home life and our home relationships and stuff, and feeling very grounded and stable and like we're doing what we need to be doing and we're very mature and just taking care of our home and our careers in a good way. But it's in reverse. So there's something like about this that may make you realize, next to the Empress card, that I don't know, it's almost like you need to receive more from your environment, or you might feel like ungrounded or unstable. This could be financially, you could be having some kind of change in finances, or maybe you feel like something is going on with your mom or a woman in your life, because these are both figures like that. Or if you're a mother, maybe there's something disruptive around that, and it's causing you to feel like you can't quite catch up. Like maybe you feel like dysregulated almost, like I can't keep a hold of the finances in the house, and I can't do all these things. I can't do it all well. And the Empress next to it is almost like you need to fill up your cup. You need to receive more. You need to manage it. I don't know, something in the daily like routine of managing your life and your finances and your home and your career is not working. And that's part of what is being disrupted. And the Empress next to it speaks to you really needing to feel like you are receiving. And I think a lot of this speaks to an eclipse in the ninth. It's a very spiritual eclipse in general for everybody, but especially in the ninth, where there is this kind of prophetic nature to the ninth. So I'm almost getting that you guys are getting some energetic downloads and information, things coming to you around next steps in your life. And I feel like you might need to, again, kind of like receive more or open up more space so that you can allow those new things and that new information to come in instead of just going through the motions of your routine and being on top of things. I almost feel like if your routine is disrupted, that's important because there might be some kind of messages or next steps or ways so that you can change things or innovate things that will make themselves apparent in that break from your routine and your productivity and your yeah. So I just think that there's something about like you might shake it up, or you might feel like you just don't have the capacity to keep going with managing your life properly, and that's going to benefit you by creating space to receive something new, or to nourish yourself in a new way, or to get a new idea come to you that is going to help in the future. So that's part of what is being disrupted right now. It's your like community and relationships because of the Saturn and Neptune in the 11th, and some type of loss related to that with the square to Uranus, something that's not going to go back to the way it was. And then some type of break in the way that you're able to like manage your routine or manage your money or manage your house or manage your career. Like maybe if you get called in, like they don't call you into work as much, or maybe they do, but you feel like you're always busy when they try to call you in. And so you can't say, yeah, like there's stuff like that. That's like, okay, my schedule isn't quite like aligning, but that vacuum that it's creating is really important. So keep that in mind. So what ascension are you going through? We have the death and the rebirth and the 3 of Cups in reverse. So major changes again to your relationships. This feeling of like community and connection, celebration, and being surrounded by people that you love and feeling lighthearted. I think that has been something that maybe you didn't realize, but you've been disconnected from it for longer than you knew. Or like maybe there was something unfulfilling about the people that you were surrounding yourself with, or just a lack of connection in general, or a feeling of like pessimism sometimes. But anyway, with the death card and the rebirth card, it's really speaking to this changing. I think that like the people that you surround yourself with are really going to change. Your sense of optimism with this eclipse in the ninth is going to change. And it's going to come from having, I think, a better perspective on things. So, and this I think again is kind of like a spiritual influence. Part of your advice is she who listens, understanding, witness, and compassion. So I think that you're really meant to tune in right now. Like I think that this could be about listening to yourself. This could be about listening to others and having good communication. But I really feel like it's also the universe is trying to speak to you, to your soul. And there's like a spiritual message that's trying to come through. And I feel like it's trying to show you that, okay, this relationship isn't really filling up your cup, or this dynamic and this way of managing your life. You're not resting enough. You're not nourished enough, or there's a different way of going about this. And the universe is trying to give you these messages to help you think in an elevated way and an optimistic way, because the ninth house is optimistic, but it's not just optimistic. It's like, it's seeing how things could be better. And thinking really creatively and outside of the box about that like elevated way of doing things or experiencing things. And I feel like the universe really wants to listen to it, because there is relationship dynamics that could feel totally different and come into your life. And again, really elevate your life and your consciousness. And that's part of what I think is trying to come in for you. So the other ascension that's taking place is the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Cups in reverse. So I think that there is something about like the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Cups to me are kind of like fickle energies. They might look good on the surface, or it might feel good at the time to move really quickly towards someone or something, or maybe somebody has pretty words, or maybe something looks good or is charming. I don't know. I just feel like there's something here about like having discernment more around, especially people, but like opportunities even. Having more discernment and really being able to see beyond the surface of what's happening or what they're saying. And being able to adjust quite quickly with this Knight of Swords, and also the fact that Uranus is going to move into your sign in a few months. We're going to notice this like picking up of the pace of things and decision-making process. So I feel like you're going to move on really quickly from relationship disappointments. I feel like you're going to move on and away from people who have, again, a lot of pretty talk but don't back it up with actions, or people who are unreliable or who are charming but like they're not totally loyal or they're not honest. Like there's something about that where like it's shallow. There's some like shallowness there with the Knight of Cups in reverse. So if you have like a shallow type of relationship or something that doesn't have some authenticity to it, which is a very Aquarius word for this Aquarius solar eclipse, then I think you will be able to spot the inauthenticity like that and then immediately move out of that kind of dynamic, or avoid that person altogether and not get into like a pattern with them. So I'm just seeing almost like, yeah, because this person's like literally running away and they're going to their like bike and they're going to go zoom off. So yeah, I just feel like the biggest thing that's changing for you is major shifts in your relationships. And I think a lot of this is going to help you avoid the wrong people. And that's a big thing, right? I think that it will help heal this feeling of being disconnected and help bring in the right people. But equally important is avoiding the wrong people, because the wrong people really can mess up your life. And with Uranus moving into your sign, and if you're a Gemini rising, this is going to not only be in your first house, but it will mirror and reflect into your seventh house of relationships. You might find that your relationships are undergoing a lot of shifts and changes, and that you are having like a lot of truths and awakenings and realizations come towards you around people. And all right, up next we have Cancer, Rising, and Sun. This Aquarius solar eclipse happening on February 17th is taking place in your 8th house. Not the best eclipse placement to have, but I think it is a good one in the sense that we are all going through a awakening to a truth within ourselves that I think is going to really aid in the ascension of something in our lives. And the 8th house is often a truth of like where we are getting held back by our own fears and limitations, like our limiting beliefs. And we're going to talk about all this. This is really going to relate a lot to your guys' career, because the ruler of this eclipse is in your 10th house. It's Saturn and it's conjunct Neptune in your 10th. There's something that is meant to be really evolving and shifting within your career, and not just career, but like your ambitions, your goals, your direction in life, your place in the world. But I feel like maybe you've been limiting yourself in some way, and this eclipse is trying to help you get out of that pattern to, again, ascend into a new place and to have a fresh start in your career. With this eclipse squaring Uranus in the 11th, it might involve some type of disruption in your relationships, some kind of change in your socializing or the things that you like spend time doing with other people, to show you that, to get you out of a funk I think something about that wasn't working. There was some kind of pattern of doing things that like weren't really fulfilling or weren't really moving your life forward. And I can see that because I pulled cards on that. I was like, what is disrupting for what pattern is being disrupted for my Cancers? And I got the Knight of Wands in reverse. This is a card of like, in many ways, of being unreliable. And if there was something in your life, and especially with this Four of Wands after, which you can see they're like partying, they're at some kind of like festival. People usually take drugs at festivals. They're like losing themselves to the music. It's like they kind of go into their own world, which that has merit in its own right for, you know, a certain time in life. But I also think that like that doesn't match your energy right now. And that's not to say that you're doing that, but I just mean that there's something maybe that you are indulging in or going to socially or trying to be a part of in the world, or like getting distracted by even social media, something that you're getting like swept up into that is pulling you off course with the Knight of Wands in reverse, that has made you maybe lose part of your creative spark. So part of what was disrupted is this feeling of movement, momentum, again, creativity, feeling like you know where you're going, you know what you're doing, you're confident. That has been or is being disrupted because of maybe some of the things that you're engaging in either online or socially or indulging in. And it's just, there's something about that is almost like a distraction. And with the Six of Swords, part of what you're realizing is that you're not moving forward, and you're going to be frustrated by that, or you're going to just see that and you're going to be over it, right? You're going to be like, okay, I can't keep doing this type of behavior. Like I can't keep staying up all night because then I'm not getting up on time in the morning and working out like I promised myself I would be. That's just one example. Or I can't keep trying to be friends with these people because they're doing this kind of behavior when I promised myself I'd be meditating, not drinking on my weekends. It's like, this is just examples that I'm pulling out of my ass, but of course you can apply this to yourself. There's something about this that has a social context. Like the internet has movements of people doing the same things, or, you know, friend groups doing the same. Like there's a hive mind kind of mentality. Something about that is going to be disrupted, and you're going to start to see that there is this kind of resonating, like a difference in the resonance of like, I have these goals, I have these ambitions, I want to grow in this way, I want to advance towards these things in my life. But these people and these activities that I'm doing, these ways of wasting my time or connecting with people who are like distracting me, it's not helping. So I think that that's what's going to be disrupted, is you're going to really start to see that I'm not moving forward. I lost my creative spark. Where am I going? What am I even doing? Who even am I? Maybe not that deep, but that's typically how deep I'm going all the time. Anyway, okay, so what is your ascension then? So this Aquarius eclipse is the ascension process. We have the Six of Cups. This really speaks to an eclipse in the 8th house. This is definitely going to relate to something from our childhood. The 8th house is where we have all of our emotions stored from our childhood. So if you felt like you never belonged as a kid, or you had to always say yes, or, you know, you were scared to, I don't know, whatever it is, you might start to see that there's like this long-standing kind of pattern that is coming from a wound from childhood. So part of the ascension process is illuminating how this is connected to events and feelings and emotions from the past. It doesn't have to be childhood necessarily, but it's just a historical precedent, right? That there's something that's been going on for a while. So I always say yes to these events because I'm scared to be left out, because a few years ago I was really lonely, and now I'm scared to be lonely again. Like there's something, you know what I'm saying? That there's some kind of like historical connection of the fear and the pain that you are trying to avoid. This eclipse is going to unearth all of that and help bring out your feelings to the surface. So it could feel kind of a little bit triggering. It could feel very raw and almost like unfiltered and unveiling your deep inner world. And so it could really put it on display. And again, I feel like the top lines of what is disrupted feels very shallow, feels very surface level, like entertaining, distracting. I'm going to do these things that like take my mind off of things. And then this eclipse is like, boom, you have to look at this for what it is, because your life isn't moving forward in this meaningful way that you really want it to. And so you need to look at all these layers underneath. And there are fears connected to previous things that have happened in your life, that this distractibility and sociability thing that you're turning to is like, it's your way of trying to prevent from experiencing those feelings again. And with the Ace of Cups, what I feel like is happening is that this ascension is going to really open your heart. Like, I feel like your heart is going to be blown wide open. That's what I'm saying, like raw, vulnerable, sensitive, deep, like understanding and really deeply feeling something. And just opening it so wide that like the kinds of things that you connect to, the kinds of things that you do with your time are things that really, really fill your heart, that connect to your heart, that are soul level connections, that are deeply enriching, that are nourishing types of things to do, instead of these kind of shallow things. I see you being so heart-led, so open, and feeling so deeply that there's just no other choice but to do that. And with the Five of Swords, I feel like you are kind of facing your inner dialogue, the inner critic, the inner worrier that kind of entangles you up and makes you feel kind of stuck. So if you haven't been moving forward partially because of maybe self-criticism, self-doubt, being conflicted about things, being back and forth, getting tangled up in your thoughts and your mind, ruminating, arguing with yourself or even with others, but I think this is internal. If that has been a problem for you, I really feel like this is something that you're ascending past. And I think that you will have to, I think that this isn't that you're not going to experience this ever. It's more so that you're going to really develop the tools of self-awareness to understand when you're entering into that mindset, and then also for how to navigate out of it and healthily move past it instead of getting stuck or trying to avoid it or decompress in a way that is, again, detached and unhealthy. And just to say, it's okay to have some detachment, right? We don't always have to be like diving deep into everything all the time. That's not natural or like balanced. But I do think that there's going to be some level here of, again, really having the tools for getting yourself out of like a mental funk. And I think part of it is that you're going to be living so much more from the heart. You will know when you're going into your head. And we really want both of them, of course, to work together, but the heart should lead. And your advice is, she who yearns, yearn longing for and pine for. So really, your heart is going to yearn for something. It's going to yearn for deep soul connections, deep rest, nourishing foods, nourishing thoughts, nourishing people and environments. Your heart is going to really, really long for those things once you open up and start feeling everything, instead of kind of like being really busy with things that don't matter, being distracted by shallow connections or whatever. You're going to start to have like such a strong connection to your heart center that it's going to awaken all these feelings of what you don't have yet and a yearning and longing for it. Lean into that. That's not a problem. That's your guidepost for how to develop certain areas of your life more. Maybe that means you join a yoga teacher training and study that, or maybe you take some kind of chance within your career because you yearn to be further ahead, or to try some new thing that you haven't tried before. For a lot of you, it is going to be something around goals and ambitions and career developments that you're really going to see the biggest fresh starts with. So allow yourself to think about what is it you really, really yearn for, and like wholeheartedly own that and work towards that instead of trying to suppress that feeling of longing. So yeah, I really feel like this is God and the universe telling you to embrace your heart's desires and not to get distracted by things that are really meaningless for you. It might have felt good for a while, but I see you going through this awakening and this ascension where it becomes unavoidable, and you just have to pursue the things that your heart really, really wants you to pursue, that your soul came here to do with the Six of Cups, that you maybe wanted to do since childhood, or some part of you that's like always really been there that you haven't maybe given the full space to cultivate. And again, maybe because somebody in that childhood or in that past said, you're not good at that, you can't do that, you can't make money with that. There's probably some of that coming up around it that you have to peel back those layers and say, yeah, I could totally do this. I'm good at this. Like, instead of getting in your head, and if you do get in your head, having the tools to get yourself out and back into your heart. So really beautiful. I was feeling that very deeply for you. So I hope that you guys feel the same. I hope it resonates and makes sense for you. If this is helpful, please let me know in the comments down below. I am trying to grow my channel, so I appreciate any support and reciprocity. Maybe you like the video, comment, or share it with a friend, or hype it. Anything like that is, again, deeply appreciated. And I hope you have a beautiful eclipse. Bye. All right, up next we have Leo rising and sun. This Aquarius eclipse, solar eclipse, which is a new moon, happening on February 17th, is taking place in your 7th house of relationships. And I've been asking all the cards, what about this period of time is going to be disrupted for you? And this is going to relate to Uranus in your 10th house, squaring this eclipse. So there is likely going to be something around your career that you started, or maybe not started, but you kept up with or were motivated by it because of the opinions of others with the 6 of Wands. And with the Queen of Wands in reverse, I feel like you almost might have like lost connection with your interior world when it comes to some aspects of your career, like some of your intuition or your creativity or your unique and authentic ideas. You might have gotten into a cycle where you did stuff because of praise, or because it made other people happy, or because, you know, there was, again, some kind of like admiration or respect that you gained in society by having maybe a certain type of career. But I just feel like there's something about, and when I say career, I should probably broaden this to be any life ambition, any goal, any sense of direction or path in life that you want to take. You might have been attracted to things that you shut down actually because you thought, like, maybe because you were getting something out of doing the current career that you have, or the current goals and path that you have, because of the way that it affected others and the way they treated you as a result. So there's some kind of attention, admiration, respect, or even just doing it to please others in some way. But again, I feel like that kind of made you feel like a little bit disconnected from some new opportunities or ideas and the creative intuition that was coming to you. It's almost like you're like, no, I don't have time for that. No, I can't do that. I can't make space for that innovative way of doing things, or that new path, or that new plan, because the current one that I'm on is rewarding me in some way when it comes to others. And so I really feel like you guys, that's what's going to be disrupted. You guys are going to be, I think, really looking at this Aquarius element of the eclipse, which is about your authentic desires and what makes you unique, and what your unique offerings to the world can be in terms of how you spend your time. So if you want to dedicate yourself to something, make sure, because our life is so short. I feel like this eclipse, in many ways, for a lot of people, and really just the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in general, is this kind of period of time where we're aligning with our deeper soul mission, or like a bigger why behind why we're doing something. I think it's not enough to sustain us to do something because it's expected of us anymore, especially at this time. There's something here where we have to be able to show up in a way that our soul is really desiring, so that we don't waste the little bit of time that we have. And so I think that this eclipse is igniting that sense of urgency, not to rush the process, but just to not be like, not just so that you don't continue on going how you're going without making the changes that feel good to you. So that's one aspect of this eclipse. This eclipse, like I mentioned, though, is taking place in your relationship sector, in your 7th house. And the ruler, Saturn, is conjunct Neptune at 0 Aries in your 9th. So I really feel like one of the biggest blessings you guys are having is a different association with your, just with your career, your relationships. Like having a totally rewired set of beliefs when it comes to your relationships or expectations. ideologies when it comes to relationships. You might meet somebody new or start a new kind of commitment with someone or something that aligns with these new beliefs and kind of values that you have. And I see that with the Page of Pentacles and Seven of Pentacles. I just feel like you're putting down new roots somewhere. And this could even be like working with a company, or this could be, again, a new kind of relationship. But there's some type of, again, new belief system that you are going to attract relationships that align with it. So I feel like you guys have kind of closed out a pattern in relationships, and now you are starting new, you are starting fresh. And so I definitely feel like, again, this is your time to attract people who vibrate with that similar frequency, who would meet you according to your new belief systems or the work that you've done to upgrade yourself. I really feel like you're going to, again, put down roots somewhere with a person or a company. And I feel like it's going to happen a lot faster than you think, and it's going to lead to a lot of opportunities. So it's like if you make a new friend, or if you start dating again, or if you sign on to a new job or work with a company in some way, this could then lead to more relationships, more contracts, like some kind of growth and acceleration of momentum. And I think it's going to be personal growth as well. So all the work that you've done is going to kind of help accelerate the positive growth in your life. In terms of advice for this eclipse, we have the she who aches, solitude, sadness, silent, and withdrawal, and she who hesitates, ponder, delay, and confidence. I feel like this is saying that, like, Spirit really wants you to know that, like, you're the one holding yourself back when it comes to this commitment with a person or a company, or like, yeah, something like that. You're the one holding yourself back. So if you are like, if you're having doubt right now or lacking confidence, and you're kind of withdrawing and not taking action, or maybe not putting yourself out there in some way, this is really saying that, first of all, that makes a lot of sense, because I think with everything that's happened in the past, and also having Mercury and the North Node and Venus and Pisces in your 8th house, I just think that it's going to bring stuff up, but it's bringing it up to be healed, especially with that trine to Jupiter in the 12th. So if you feel like you maybe need some time to pull back, like, that's okay, because you might be healing some of this, but not to hold yourself back permanently. It's okay if you delay. It's okay if you lack confidence, but if there's some new person out there or new situation that you can put yourself into in your career, or a new commitment that you can start, it is fated. This is an eclipse here. So it is kind of destined to happen. So just keep that in mind. If you want to hesitate, you can, but eventually your soul is going to call you to this in a way that you can't ignore. And I think it's worth listening to. So that's what I see for you, Leo. I hope that that's helpful. I am trying to grow my channel, so I appreciate any kind of reciprocity. If you want to like the video, if you want to comment, hype it, share it, subscribe, anything like that, I really appreciate it. And I hope that you guys have a beautiful February in 2026. All right, up next we have Virgo rising and sun. So for you guys, this Aquarius solar eclipse is happening on February 17th in your 6th house of work, health, and routines. It is squaring Uranus in the 9th as well. And whenever we have an eclipse squaring Uranus, it creates some kind of disruption in our life. So I was pulling cards around what could be disrupted here. And I really think that with it being in the 9th, there has to be some disruption to the way that you see something, to your perspective, your beliefs around something. And I really feel like what was going wrong for you with this being an eclipse in a work house is that there might have been something around your work or your routine that just wasn't going according to plan. The 6 of Swords in reverse can represent the opposite of smooth sailing, feeling like there are bumps, like, oh, I created this plan to get up every day at this time, and then this happened, and then this happened, and this threw me off. Or I was doing good at work, but then they let me go, or I ran out of business, or I don't know, whatever. So there's something around your structure of your life, like your day-to-day routines and your pacing and the work that you do. And again, your health, maybe something even got disrupted with your health, maybe it doesn't have to be, but there could have been something like that was going awry. Maybe you didn't have time to work out, or you didn't eat according to your plan. There's something like that of like, I had this kind of plan, especially when it comes to my work, but then it didn't work out. And that could be because of external circumstances or personal choices, likely a mixture of the two. And with the Ace of Pentacles and the Empress also answering the question of what is disrupted, I feel like this is the exact contrast to the Emperor with the Six of Swords in reverse. And it's saying that if you were once feeling like you didn't have the right, again, work or structure, or maybe your financial stability was feeling stressed, the Ace of Pentacles and Empress says that there's going to be a new opportunity coming to you that can provide some level of abundance. It might take time to grow because it is an Ace of Pentacles, but it is something that is going to continue to like give to you with this Empress card. There is this is an energy of receiving. This is the card of Venus. So there is like a natural unending flow of abundance from the Empress card. So even though it again has to build and is something new, it is going to be consistent. We also see for your advice, she who surrenders, chains, bondage, and release. So I feel like part of what is going to help you move out of this cycle of feeling unstable when it comes to your work, health, or routine, I feel like, or your financial security, I feel like what's going to help you the most is just surrendering to life. I feel like, this Pisces, Mercury in your 7th house, and the North Node and Venus here, they're all representing the need to really trust and go with the flow, that if certain things didn't work out in the past, that doesn't mean that they won't work out now. That everything happens for a reason, that, we don't have to do everything ourselves, that opportunities can come to us and we can be magnetic, but also meet those opportunities. So it's not that we're not acting, but it's just there is a little bit more faith that things also kind of come around to us. So that's the energy that I'm seeing, is this releasing the fear, releasing the even like kind of poverty mindset. I feel like that is one of the really big things happening for you guys with this eclipse being in the 6th house and the 4 of Pentacles and then 8 of Swords describing it. This is the what is ascending card. And I feel like what is ascending is you guys are getting out of this kind of scarcity mindset. Maybe you felt like you needed to save a lot and you would always be saving money, or maybe the opposite, and you're always spending and you're in a scarcity mindset in the kind of opposite way where you're running your resources dry. Or maybe you are just kind of pinching pennies and worried about your next paycheck if you are out of a job, for example. So there's a lot of ways that this can manifest, but there is kind of this fearful, scarce energy that was surrounding you. And oftentimes with an eclipse in the 6th house, it can indicate that you also were kind of working underneath your capabilities. So maybe you were capable of making more money and you just weren't pursuing those higher level jobs. Maybe you were in a job that didn't utilize your natural innate gifts and your natural interests, and you just settled for something that was easier or there. And this is not to chastise you. Like, it's not to say like, oh, you settled, but I just often think it's a belief system that we're operating under where you think that that's all you deserve. And it might be even unconscious. But with this Aquarius eclipse squaring Uranus in the 9th, it's really going to highlight and put a spotlight on those belief systems and where you might have, again, kind of unknowingly or unconsciously settled for something that is less than you are capable of. And I see that is part of what the ascension is about for you guys with, Luna, stop. Sorry, my dog's been like really chewing on her leg lately. I don't know why. Okay, so that's part of what the ascension is happening with the Sun and the 3 of Wands, really positive cards. First of all, the Sun is a card of career and spotlight and optimism and really seeing your future and like the vision of your future and where you're headed and having clarity about that. So very, very, very positive card, one of the most positive in the deck. And then we have the Three of Wands, which is a card of expansion, a card of growth. And that can also represent that square to Uranus in the ninth. It's like now that you've opened up this new way of seeing your career, that you feel that, or seeing yourself really, especially with the South Node in your first house, there's a lot here around letting something go around who you are. So maybe you saw yourself one way, or again, only capable of so much. And now you're opening up your self-concept and you're growing and expanding and wanting more or doing more, achieving more. You're unlocking that kind of next level because you're removing some type of ceiling that was possibly there before. So very, very, very exciting. I think you're also, this is part of your advice, but I think you will do this, but I think you're really going to step into your own creativity. And with this being an Aquarius eclipse in the sixth, a lot of that creativity means that you're thinking about what is unique about me. And this kind of speaks to what I was saying before, where you're opening up to accepting jobs and opportunities and things that are more in alignment with your kind of innate gifts, rather than trying to force something to work that was maybe more like not aligned with you. So I just think that however you approach your life and your career and your health and all those things, it's supposed to be modified to fit who you are as an individual, or you're supposed to go into a sector or a field or have your routine or whatever fit who you are as a person. So I think that that is like a really big thing with Aquarius is that authenticity piece. The ruler of this eclipse is Saturn, and it's with Neptune in the 8th. So I really feel like this kind of speaks to that scarcity mindset. But I did want to just mention that of like, you might have kept yourself small financially or just practically, like in career or anything. You might have kept yourself small because of fear, because it's insecurity. And that's part of what you are healing from. Look at this person living from their heart, absorbing that sun. There's this kind of connection also to the universe that I feel like is happening for you because you're opening up to your innate gifts and you're willing to take a chance, to go on an adventure, to take some kind of risk, to try something that maybe you haven't tried before, or to do it in a different way that is really going to feel authentic to you and create that sense of freedom. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Virgo. I hope that resonates. If it does, let me know in the comments down below. I am trying to grow my channel, so any reciprocity at all is really appreciated. So that could look like subscribing, commenting, liking the video, hyping, sharing, too many things, honestly, but I appreciate any of that support, and I hope you have a beautiful February. Bye. All right, up next we have Libra rising and sun. This Aquarius solar eclipse happening on February 17th is taking place in your 5th house. And it is squaring Uranus in your 8th. So there is something inherently disruptive about an eclipse that squares Uranus, especially in your 8th. So this eclipse is definitely going to have some elements that may come on quite suddenly. Something that's coming up in your reading with the cards that I've pulled is that time is really relevant right now. So I'm going to be talking about that in a second, but just keep that in mind. So I pulled the King of Swords in reverse first. And to me, this is indicative of having maybe some kind of news or revelation, or you being honest with somebody about how you feel, or someone being honest with you about how they feel. But this is like some type of conversation about maybe vulnerable topics or difficult emotions, past grievances, or big decisions that need to be made. And all the feelings kind of revealed and laid out on the table. So like all of the, I don't know, all of anything, if it's emotionally charged, or if there's like a really big decision, I feel like all of that's kind of like coming to some kind of peak, and you're thinking about it, or you're having a conversation with somebody about it. And I think most people, this will involve a conversation. This will involve a relationship. And that's because the ruler of this eclipse, Saturn, is conjunct Neptune in your 7th. So this is definitely centering around like your heart's desires or the truth of a situation, and how you want to move forward, or how someone else wants to move forward with something that involves both of you. So I do think that conversation may be stressful, or may have some difficult parts of it for whatever reason, because this card is in reverse. So maybe you initially don't see eye to eye, or maybe this is talking about a past conflict, something like that. This could also speak to a pattern within an existing relationship. I am seeing most of the eclipse kind of significations being centered around there being some kind of pattern that is disrupted. So it's possible that this is something that's been building for a long time, even if it hasn't been spoken. There could be just like a tension building or decision building, like something that was, yeah. But maybe part of the pattern is that you don't always admit these things to yourself or others. Maybe you kind of gaslight yourself or others, or, you know, whatever. So that's part of what's being disrupted. With the wheel, I see you like completing that kind of cycle. So where you're no longer keeping something inside, you're coming to a decision, or you are just being honest, or having that conversation. It feels like you're kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's like you've kind of been turning it over in your head and like a wheel. And then eventually you get to the complete circle around it. And you're like, okay, I think I understand what I think and feel about this. Let's address this fully. And with the Four of Wands, I feel like it's going to go really well. And this is a conversation or a decision or something that you're going to really celebrate, because you're finally free. You can finally move forward. Things are growing. Things are moving. And I think that this speaks to an eclipse squaring Uranus in the 8th. It's like this type of clarity and revelation and freeing yourself of maybe emotions and information that you've kept inside. And there can be sometimes fear around that makes us hold it in. So what's your ascension here? This is an eclipse in the 5th house. So I think part of your ascension is that maybe there's something that you're meant to move into that is supposed to bring you a lot of joy, like a new cycle that's supposed to bring you a lot of joy. Maybe for some of you, you want to start a new hobby or have a kid, or again, make a decision about something in your life that's going to make that part of your life more joyful, more playful, more fun, more free, more authentic, you expressing yourself better, more creative, more inspired. There's some part of your life that you want to shift in order to cultivate that. And I see that with the Ace of Wands. You're having like some kind of idea or inspiration or something coming to you. So this could be, oh, I want to move to this place, or again, I want to start this hobby, or I want to date again, and I want it to look like this. And it could be anything. That's why I don't want to narrow it down, but just consider what this possibility might be. And then after that, we have the Temperance and the Hangman. I really sat with these cards before the reading started, because I was like, I just don't know. This is part of the ascension as well. So I'm just going to kind of like give the ideas that came to mind. First of all, the Temperance is a card of healing, and the Hangman is seeing something from a new perspective. The Hangman is also, I feel like, just getting to relax. Like this is somebody you see doing aerial yoga. Love aerial yoga, by the way. And so maybe this is you like getting to relax and focus more on your healing, on your well-being. Maybe you get to do more hobbies or do more yoga or have more fun and like really take care of yourself. This could also signify you just being able to, like, maybe you have an idea of something that's important to you, but you're not like jumping into it right away. Because sometimes these cards are more chill. They're like, okay, we'll get there when we get there. Okay, I know I want to make this change. I want to move, or I want to start this thing, or have a kid. We've decided that, but I'm not going to do that yet. Like I know it's on the horizon, but it's not here now. So something like this, where I feel like you guys are just getting to kind of chill, heal, chill, relax, take care of yourself, thrive. And this feels very hands off, right? Like I can just enjoy things as they are. And then we have the Love card. So this is part of your advice. So I feel like this is really about just bearing your heart and being honest with whoever else this might involve. There is some need here to just be, vulnerable and frank. And I really feel like that's going to go super well for you guys, even if that vulnerability is with yourself. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Libra. I hope that this resonates. I hope that this is a positive eclipse for you. It certainly seems like you're going to have a lot of fun and maybe get out of some kind of like mental funk that you could have been in, overthinking something. And you're just going to feel a lot better once it's all out or the decision's made. So very excited for you. I am trying to grow my channel. So if you want to support me, I'd appreciate that through maybe subscribing, liking, commenting, hyping, sharing with your friend, anything like that is greatly appreciated. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next we have Scorpio rising and sun. So this Aquarius solar eclipse on February 17th is taking place in your fourth house of home and family. This is also the house most associated with our kind of inner self or who we are behind closed doors, just like when you think about when you're in your house. You can take your shoes off, you can walk around in your underwear, you can talk to your dog, make weird noises. So there's something about this eclipse that is kind of peeling back the layers, with this being an Aquarius eclipse, to help you show more of that authentic self, more of who you are in your core, in your deeper nature, behind closed doors. And this eclipse could produce some major changes in your life, in particular to things that have felt maybe really settled or where you have rooted down. So major changes to your family. Maybe somebody is born or someone passes away, or there are just changes within your like physical home environment. Maybe you move homes or decide you want to invest in a home or make some major changes to your financial situation, which is another form of security and rootedness. So whatever it is, there is something that is going to potentially change more of the bedrock or the foundation of your life. And if it's more symbolic for you, then I think that this change has a lot to do with you showing more of your vulnerabilities, expressing more of yourself, and allowing more authenticity to shine through within your relationship dynamics. I say relationship dynamics because this eclipse is squaring Uranus in the 7th house of partnerships and business contracts. So there may be something here that is disrupted around relationships that causes this kind of string of events to occur, where you realize, okay, I do want to move, or I do want to approach my relationships different, or I want to bear more of my soul or make a change to my environment. So I know that those are a lot of things, but at the core of it, there is some kind of disruptive energy, and it's coming through other people. So other people are maybe saying or doing something, or other people are unreliable, or there's some event occurring that disrupts a relationship with either a company or a business that you are in contract with, or a relationship and a person that you are in connection with. So let's look at some of the cards, and then I'll talk further about the chart. So I asked Spirit, what is it that's being disrupted for you? And I got the 6 of Swords, the 10 of Wands, and the 4 of Pentacles. A couple of things. I feel like 6 of Swords is a card that often represents some type of transition in our lives, some type of liminal phase. And the 10 of Wands is indicative that you may have been kind of going through a harder time, or maybe something has challenged you in some respect. Maybe you've had some physical ailments. Maybe you've had some losses. Maybe you've had certain mental struggles. We're all kind of going through it right now as a collective, but with the 10 of Wands, this really speaks to having more of that burden than others at this time. So the 6 of Swords is indicating that maybe you've been kind of going through a transition in life from one chapter to another, and maybe it's felt a little bit heavy and daunting. Maybe at times you feel uncertain about what's coming next, or if the thing that you want will ever manifest. Maybe people or things have left your life, and it's made you confused about, where am I headed? Who am I? What is this all about? And that can feel disruptive, especially when it comes to your relationships, because Uranus has been moving through your 7th house, which is relationship house, and is going through its final push in this area. So maybe it's relationships in particular where you have felt this instability and transitory type of energy. Or it could be other areas like your work, because your health, because Saturn and Neptune, the rulers of this eclipse, are in your 6th house of health and work. So that's a lot of areas, but you can kind of place it where it is relevant for you, because we're all different. So my Scorpios, you've been going through a transition, some heavy energy, and I feel like you've been in this kind of preservation mode with the Four of Pentacles. Maybe you've been saving money. Maybe you've been saving energy and haven't been going out as much, or you've been a little bit closed off, or just trying to like nurture yourself and physically take care of yourself. So if it's been, health instability, maybe you've been just really trying to build yourself back up to where you were, and you've been taking things slow and easy and not doing the same things you used to do to the same extent. If this is financially, maybe you have been really trying to keep your purse strings tight. Or if this has been relationship instability, maybe this has been you holding back from trying to meet new people, or maybe you're just trying to go to therapy or whatever you can to create a solid foundation within the self. So to me, what's disrupted right now is this pattern of feeling like you are moving through a transition that's difficult, and that you have to preserve yourself to stay, like, to heal yourself, if that makes sense, or to like keep things as they are, to contain things. I hope that's making sense. Kind of like, going back to like a survivorship mentality, or like just trying to do the basics, just trying to do the bare minimum to make sure that you are solid, because you're in this transition phase of your life where things have maybe been kind of hard. So that pattern is being disrupted right now. And yes. Okay. So where are you ascending? Because I really do see an Aquarius eclipse about like signifying that there's some kind of ascension taking place, that you are up-leveling your life in some way as a result of having greater sense of enlightenment or mindfulness and consciousness in a given situation. So Aquarius will bring that aha moment or that breakthrough, especially with that square to Uranus, that is going to, again, disrupt this pattern of just trying to like get by. That's not the exact words I want to use, but I can't think of it right now because I'm a little brain dead. So your ascension is the King of Wands in reverse, the Seven of Swords in reverse, and then the Empress. So I feel like part of what's been happening for you is you've been kind of like, I see the King of Wands as somebody who is very confident, who's going after what they want, right? Who is in a period of maybe extroversion and leadership and being willing to stand apart from the crowd and be different and do what they need to do to get something that they want without worrying around how it's going to affect people and situations around them as much, because it's a very self-contained, self-assured energy. But this is in reverse. So I feel like you guys have been kind of a little bit like dull or muted when it comes to your personal energy and expression. Maybe you haven't been as creative lately. Maybe you haven't been taking as many risks or chances lately. We see that Four of Pentacles. Maybe it's your physical energies is a little bit lower than normal. So this is like the vitality, the energy to go out and, again, kind of stand apart, take up a leadership position, be proactively going after what you want. That's been a little bit on the back burner. Because I feel like you've just been doing the kind of, I don't know if bare minimum is the right word, but it's like, I just need to sustain what I have and protect myself. So this is part of what's ending. And I feel like you guys are going to realize, or with the Seven of Swords in reverse, you're going to have some kind of clarity or revelation or confession, or like wiping something clean, wiping a slate clean, where you can start fresh and no longer operate from that energy. So this to me feels very much like a self-awareness of how you could have been. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the fourth house where this eclipse is taking place is a lot around like our comfort, our stability, again, who we are behind closed doors, and how we can feel safe in that environment and like our little cocoon. But I feel like this eclipse wants you to venture outside of that. It wants you to be more authentic in your expression of who you are, or do something in a way that reflects a sense of abundance or trust about a new chapter for yourself, either in relationships or in work or in health. So like making some kind of progress, I guess. Like the universe wants you to take a step forward, to make some kind of yeah, to take action, to be strategic and move something forward in your life, to get excited about something. That's the vibe I'm getting. Is like you've been in this self-preservation mode, and there is goodness in that, but there's also something that the universe wants you to be proactive and productive about and set your sights on. Maybe it's a goal, maybe it's a routine, maybe it's a new friendship or just some kind of idea. But I feel like the universe really wants you to create some kind of strategy, some kind of plan, or a routine, or yeah, it's like almost like kind of getting out there a little bit more and doing things in a different way. And I can see with the Empress card that I feel like the universe is going to meet your efforts with opportunities. So if you decide, okay, I'm going to try this new hobby that I haven't tried before and see if that feels right. The universe will kind of align things for you, and maybe you meet somebody at that new hobby and you start to have a lot of fun, or maybe you decide to change jobs or do something different financially or for your health, and then the universe gives you more ideas or opportunities from that. So it feels very regenerative, like it gives you more, it starts to multiply. So yeah, I feel like the ascension process is kind of helping you transition out of maybe a difficult phase in life, or this period where you've maybe felt kind of bogged down either by like physical illness or some type of difficulty, some type of like suffering or emotional suffering or relationship instability, something like that has been unstable or made you feel like heavy and weighed down, and you've just had to work on stabilizing yourself. Now the universe is kind of trying to jolt you out of that energy and into something more growth oriented to focus on, especially with Jupiter in your ninth at this time, trining this stellium of Mercury, the North Node, and Venus and Pisces in your fifth. This is supposed to be a time of creativity and inspiration and authentic expression and excitement about what's next. So if you've been, again, kind of bogged down in this old cycle of like surviving and sustaining, I see you reaching beyond that at this time. So your advice is she who is wild, untamed, wild, and mysterious. So I feel like this is saying to flow with what inspires you and to not try to be too regimented with it, but to do it frequently. Because with Saturn, Neptune, and the sixth, there's something here about like routine and consistency and really showing up for something. So it's saying that maybe you don't have like a super defined plan on like, okay, I'm going to do this and this, and that's the strategy I'm going to build this way. Maybe the strategy is simply, I'm going to show up in some way towards this ideal, towards this goal, towards this thing that inspires me at least twice a week. And that is like some form of like structure and routine without it being a mission necessarily where you're like having a direct goal. Yeah, it just feels like you can have something to inspire you to get up in the morning for, but not it, and having maybe some vision and strategy around it, but not so much that it's like this other thing that you kind of get hemmed in by and feels, again, maybe a little bit too contained. And yeah, so this is about being a lot more open and expressive and authentic of what you want to do and who you are, and excited by the future and working towards something outside of you rather than just preserving what has been inside of you or your body. Okay, I hope that this makes sense, you guys. Definitely all over the place with this one, but yeah, I hope it makes sense. If it does, if it's helpful, let me know in the comments down below. And I would love to hear how this relates to your life, because that will really help me understand the application of this as well. If you want to support my channel, please like the video and subscribe and comment, hype it, share it with your friends, anything like that. I am trying to grow my channel. I'm trying to put that good juju out there. So if you want to be a part of that with me, then you can do one of those things. And I really appreciate it. And I hope you guys have a beautiful eclipse. Bye. Okay, up next we have Sagittarius rising and sun. So for you, this Aquarius solar eclipse, aka new moon, happening on February 17th is taking place in your third house. So typically when we see an eclipse in the third house, we are having some major awakenings when it comes to our mindset. We start to have some really big shifts and realizations. We have clarity come to us. Often we have important conversations with people that needed to be had. This eclipse is especially dynamic, which is to say chaotic or disruptive, because it is squaring Uranus in your 6th house. So there could be some conversations, especially around work or related to work or health or your routines, or something about like collaborations that you do with other people or teams or teamwork. Or again, it could be like with your doctor or something about your health, if this is kind of unrelated to that. There could potentially be conversations that come up now, or truths that come up now that you realize about past events in those areas, that is going to bring you some clarity at this time. So I pulled some cards around what this eclipse represents for you. I'm going to start off with the first question, which is, what is being disrupted for you? I start off with the Knight of Swords in reverse and the Eight of Cups upright. These two cards really talk about walking away from something, leaving something behind, things leaving your life. This feels like the opposite energy of commitment. So being non-committal, or being really quick to walk away or leave, being really, decisive about not wanting to be a part of something and doing it maybe even quite suddenly and quite impulsively. The Knight of Swords can also indicate like somebody's saying the wrong thing, either you or somebody else saying the wrong thing in like maybe a rude or pushy or forceful way. And that kind of like selfish, demanding energy making you walk away. So this could have been what has already happened in the past, or maybe it will come up at the time of this eclipse, or it will be reminded of it somehow. So if this energy resonates, then obviously keep watching. So if there's something that has been kind of leaving your life, or if people or situations have been really unstable, or if you've left a dynamic of something that you, or something that you were committed to, or a team or a job or something like that, if you've left, or if you've had poor communication and it's made you want to, again, break away, leave, distance yourself from it, this is speaking to that. And then we have the Empress card. So part of what is being disruptive is this pattern or this cycle. And the Empress is a lot more around feeling like things are supplied for us by the universe, feeling like things are going to work out in our favor. This can also speak to children. So if you, okay, sorry, I'm realizing I didn't really finish my thought there. Okay, sorry. I'm just thinking too many things at once. So, okay, I'll just start with the children thing. So the ruler of this eclipse, Saturn, is conjunct Neptune in your 5th house of children. So this could be having some kind of decision or some information come to you around children. So maybe you decide that you want to get pregnant, or something's going on with that, or you're having like a medical diagnosis or something around that. That's very possible at this time. If you're not interested in children, this could also speak to like a personal project, a business project that's really exciting to you, or some other hobby or interest of yours, even dating somebody. But I'm going to focus it more on work given the houses involved. So there's something here maybe around a project or work or teamwork or something that, again, I think you guys left, or there was a difficult conversation, or people weren't seeing eye to eye. I see some like very quick movement, some impulsive decisions, maybe some people being pushy, you or them, and walking away. And the Empress is suggesting that there is going to be like that disruption was helpful, because there's going to be some kind of new growth opportunity here with this Empress card. Like I feel like there's going to be something that fills its place. You walk away and you find something that is more supportive, more nurturing, or that's something that you can nurture and that kind of takes care of you. So there's something like that going on. If you do decide to have children, maybe there's something around that where you have to leave something in the past in order for you to be able to embrace this new future. to have a child. Like maybe you have to change something about your health, for example, or like your work. Maybe you have to work less. So there could be some major changes around that. Like, okay, I'm going to step back from work and be more at home, or I need to focus more on my health to take better care of my kids. So there's something like that where I feel like you're going to be focused more on things that provide abundance, that create this feeling that there is time, that there is space, that there are opportunities for you to like improve and nurture some area of your life. Again, that could be a kind of project that you're interested in doing, and maybe you leave a work and team environment that isn't going well and you start this other new project that's giving to you, or maybe again you leave work to focus more on your children so you can really give to them, or something along those lines. These are just examples. It's going to differ from person to person. So that's part of what's being disrupted. What's disrupted, I feel like, again, I feel like you left something quite quickly, or someone left quite quickly, or something ended quite quickly in your life. And now it's like, what is forming in its place? What is this giving me the opportunity to do? So part of the ascension process is the 10 of Cups in reverse. So the High Priestess in reverse, the Hierophant in reverse, and the Moon upright. So ascension is basically what this eclipse is about. There's something that we, again, are kind of realizing, or having clarity about, or having conversation about, or deciding. And it's going to help us gain perspective. It's going to help us heal. It's going to help us embrace this Empress energy, which is something new, replacing that thing that left our lives. So if you decide, okay, I'm going to cut down my hours at work and be more with my kids, that's what's replacing your, like, you walking away from work in some ways is being replaced by this like nurturing energy with your children. But you still in that process, it's not so straightforward and simple. I think that there is some healing that needs to happen. And I can see that with the 10 of Cups in reverse. This signifies like maybe you really loved what you were doing at work. Maybe you really, I don't know, whatever left your life, maybe you like really loved that person or that thing that you were invested in, or that job or whatever. Like maybe you really, really loved it. And with the 10 of Cups in reverse, it could have felt like a loss. Not just like, oh, I'm leaving and this feels so good. Bye, bitch. No, it feels very sad. Or yeah, like I was really invested in that job for so many years. Like retiring or working from home more or spending more time with my kids is such a blessing, but it's also bittersweet because I'm sad about that, leaving that chapter, because I really loved that thing. So that's one of the messages here. We have the High Priestess in reverse. This speaks to maybe feeling a little bit at times disconnected from spirit. The High Priestess can signify also feeling maybe alone. So there's this feeling of like, yeah, I don't know, feeling somehow like cut off from something that once gave you joy. Maybe it makes you feel more alone, or again, maybe kind of disconnected from yourself or from your intuition or from God in some way. And it could feel like I don't know how things are going to be in this next chapter. Like, yeah, just having that lack of clarity of like, I'm disconnected from that thing that once brought me joy. It left my life, or I left its life. And now I don't really know how this next chapter is going to go. There's a lot of uncertainties. And again, a lot of maybe that feeling of being kind of alone and in this process of transition and lack of clarity. And then the Hierophant in reverse, I think it also might feel sad to not have the same like structure that you had before. So maybe you did go to work every day and you really enjoyed having a routine and a structure, and you're like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I fit this into this time, because I have to be there by this time and I have to make sure this is done and I have people counting on me. The Hierophant in reverse suggests that you kind of lose the structure and it has to be all like self-driven. If this is something else and does not work, I don't know. There's something about it that's like, it was an anchor point in your day. Maybe you saw somebody at a certain time, or you had, again, people relying on you or whatever. And part of that structure and foundation in your life may feel like it's not there now, that that thing has left, or that you have left that person or that thing that you're invested in. And with the moon card, I feel like this is speaking to you guys really needing to process all of this. So I think that part of your ascension is you guys, processing all of the feelings that you have around these shifts in your life. It feels pretty major in that sense. So the moon can really speak to the things that are unseen, not knowing, like, I don't know what I don't know kind of thing. I think that this eclipse is going to reveal those things that you didn't see, that you didn't know, maybe deeper feelings, maybe more thoughts on the matter of what you went through, maybe, again, a conversation that is really enlightening about the situation. And you're going to have to process all of this information on an intellectual level, of course, but also on an emotional level. And it might be time where you just need to reveal truth to someone else around a situation if it involves them. So yeah, there's something here in the ascension of like, you're becoming a lot more self-aware. That's what I feel like is happening. And you're processing things that have happened, which is going to allow you to move on into the next phase of your life. That's the ascension. Your advice is she who becomes metamorphosis, transcend, and journey. And then she who instigates leadership, provocation, and power. Yeah, I think that like your advice here is, first of all, to use this experience that you've been through as a template or a lesson in many ways. First of all, it will teach you what went wrong and what your responsibility was, or why that happened. If it's more neutral, like, why did this happen? And it will help you learn more about yourself so that in this next phase of life, you don't repeat something that you don't want to repeat, or get into something that you don't want to get into. So like if you left your job and are working with your kids more, maybe there's something around like balance and work-life boundaries and things that you learned from the workplace or from leaving the workplace that you can then carry into your next chapter, staying at home more, maybe create a schedule for yourself. I don't know, something like that. So it's like taking the lessons that you've learned and applying them to this new phase of your life, and also transcending, like taking the pain and metabolizing and processing it instead of carrying that with you if there is pain or loss, which I think that there's some type of loss here. She who instigates leadership, provocation, and power. This is saying to like step into the initiative role in your life. So instead of people leaving you, or instead of you like waiting for an invitation or waiting for something to happen to kind of be a part of this next plan in your life, this is you really taking the power into your own hands and recognizing that you can move towards the direction that you want to. So just having agency, having leadership over your life and your decisions, not being a bystander. And that goes for, every aspect of life, like actively looking at yourself to heal yourself, actively seeing where you need to maybe communicate about something more, or be more honest with yourself about something, actively seeing where you need to walk away and maybe act on certain opportunities that come as a result of having that space open up in your life. So whatever it is, it's going to be different from a lot of you, but it's a lot about seeing that you are the one who can design this next chapter for yourself. You have the power, you have the pen that is going to write the chapter, and seeing that you can make this one different than the previous one by applying what you've learned and from that previous chapter, and metabolizing the emotional experiences from that previous chapter. So again, they don't carry forward and kind of infect the new one. Weird word, but I think related. So anyway, that's what I see for you, Sagittarius. This is going to be ultimately, I think, something that's going to feel freeing, but it may be a little bit challenging given some of the cards and just the overall nature of this eclipse. So I hope it is really positive for you. Let me know in the comments down below how it feels. I'm super curious about your exact situation. So if you want to share, if you feel comfortable, I'd love to hear. If you want to support this channel, please give me a like, hype, comment, subscribe, anything like that is really appreciated. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, next you have Capricorn, rising, and sun. So for you guys, this Aquarius solar eclipse on February 17th is taking place in your second house of finances. And I definitely see this as an eclipse that is disruptive. And part of the reason for that is because, well, it's an eclipse. That's the nature of an eclipse. But it's even more heightened because this eclipse is making a tight square to Uranus in your fifth house. So there's something here that I feel like you guys are going to be breaking free from as a result of this disruptive energy. And it could be something that is related to trusting the universe. But I'll just show you the cards and then I'll weave in the astrology. So I asked Spirit, what is being disrupted? I got the Star card, which I think is such a pretty card, by the way. And I got the Magician and High Priestess in reverse. So to me, this is somebody who, with the Star, is like calling out to the universe saying, I really want this. Maybe it's something financial. Maybe you're looking for some type of security. Maybe it's something with a job or with your home or with your family. Maybe you're just seeking support or you want some kind of resource in your life. Maybe you just want something to stabilize or you want to be able to do something on your own 2 feet, like financially provide for yourself and your family on your own 2 feet, for example, or buy a house for yourself if you don't have that, or have something in your life become, again, like kind of stable and independent. Maybe you had to take care of a family member. Maybe you're wanting some freedom from that or whatever. It's going to vary a lot from person to person, but I see with the Star, like this is somebody reaching out with their soul, praying at night saying, God, please give me this. Please give me this answer to my prayer. And the Magician and High Priestess is like, could feel like a no, or it could feel like God doesn't answer. So you might have felt like I'm hoping, I'm keeping an optimistic outlook, I'm praying, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. I'm trying to stay connected to the feeling of potential and manifestation and doing all the right things, but I feel like I'm not getting God to answer me. I feel like I'm not getting the thing to stabilize my life or the answer to my prayers, or I feel like I'm not able to find this thing that is going to help me with the Magician kind of use all of my potential. That's kind of a second message, but there's something about all these cards that have very similar feeling to them. They're very spiritual, magic oriented, this idea, again, of manifestation and possibility. So I just feel like you guys have been kind of turned down by the universe. And I don't know if that was actually happening or not, but it just might have felt like when I try to do these things, they still don't come. So I could see how that could feel like you could really start to lose momentum or lose hope in something that you need and want in your life. And I feel like this is the universe saying that you're going to have some type of breakthrough with that. With this eclipse being in the second, there's something here that may, again, specifically target around either money or doing some kind of career that interests you more on a personal level. Like you have more kind of, maybe you've been wanting to do work that you have maybe a natural talent in, or maybe you wanted to evolve something in your life or make more money for something or stabilize something, or again, buy a house or stand on your 2 feet, like I said. But it's maybe something around that just hasn't been quite clicking into place for you. Maybe you haven't had the right opportunities, or you keep trying, but it's not really like progressing in the right way. So part of the disruption is that this pattern is going to end, that there is going to be a fresh start with this Fool card. So the next set of cards is all about the ascension process that you're going to have. So an Aquarius eclipse is all about ascension. It is all about kind of breaking down the framework of our life and rebuilding it into something better. And this framework is largely going to center around the material world or your sense of independence and self-worth. So regardless, I think that something is going to come through on the material world that reflects either your independence or your self-worth. So they're all linked anyway. The Fool represents, again, this ascension. So you getting a fresh start. So if you felt like the world wasn't answering you, you kept trying to put yourself out there, you kept trying to make something work, you kept praying for something to come through for you, financially, job, home, again, anything like that, then, and you didn't get answers, well, now you will get answers. So I really feel like, again, this is, I don't know, this feels very physical, whereas a lot of the other readings have felt a lot more like mental and emotional. This feels very practical in the results that are coming through. Like you've been doing all this mental and emotional and energetic work in terms of like prayer, manifestation, all intangible, and it wasn't resulting in anything. But what's changing is that now that's finally going to work and affect your material world with the Six of Pentacles. So something is going to come through for you. Maybe somebody will finally give you an opportunity. Maybe you'll be able to collaborate with somebody or do some kind of teamwork, element. Maybe somebody will give you like the benefit of the doubt and kind of give you a position or an opportunity that maybe you weren't qualified for. Like there's something here around maybe people being generous with you, or if you are in a position to be generous, this could also be you being generous to others. But whatever this is, it really feels like some kind of answer to your prayers coming into the physical world, distinctly the physical world. And you're going to have this kind of fresh start where you are going to actually have things start to move when you pray, when you express the energy and the gratitude and everything. Like when you align your energy with what you want and when you express gratitude, like you'll notice that those things actually manifest and affect your material reality. So things are actually going to change. Like this new framework for reality and for life is going to show you that the energetic work like actually changes the physical reality, whereas before it probably wasn't doing that. It might have been out of sync. Well, there's something different happening now in the collective, maybe because Pluto is now staged like fully in Aquarius. Maybe it's this eclipse. Maybe it's the fact that the North Node is moving into Aquarius shortly over the summers. There's something about it, but Aquarius deals with the energy centers of the body. It deals with the things that we cannot see, but that are vibrationally affecting us. Even things like technology emitting these frequencies, like we are affected by those things, even though we can't perceive it with our senses. They are energetically like, string theory, vibration. I don't know all these things really. If you know about them, let me know in the comments down below. But there is this kind of connection between these concepts of vibration and frequency and energy making up our material reality and affecting the material reality. So that is something that's finally clicking for you because of this time that we're in. It's not even a personal failure of yours. It's just that maybe you were manifesting and it just wasn't quite working, but now it's going to. So completely fresh start. It feels really exciting. And your advice here is to dare do, reach she who flies. So go for it. Like fully believe in this thing. Try to like use your spiritual powers or your energetic powers to bring things out into your life. Because before that wasn't working, but it will work now. So like really apply that, right? Put it to practice. However, I feel like part of what could be troubling at this time with the Ten of Swords in reverse and the Queen of Swords is you guys might not realize that like you might not realize that things have changed with this Ten of Swords in reverse. You might carry some of that with you. So like in your mind though, not in your energy. I could see you just getting in your head a little bit, like every now and again being like, okay, yeah, all right, I'm going to start trying to manifest this. I'm seeing results, but I don't know, like logically I haven't bought into it because for so long it wasn't producing the results. I prayed, I tried to have good vibes with stuff. I tried to approach it in this way and it wasn't doing anything for me. It wasn't making my life better. Having that hope, having that faith wasn't like helping or whatever it was. Or my spiritual practices, maybe I was trying to do like energy healing and it wasn't improving things. And then all of a sudden it's working now. And it's like, well, that's a coincidence. Like, I'm not going to believe in that. So I guess part of my advice is also to you guys to not carry that doubt with you, to fully let that old chapter fall off your back and embrace this new chapter where you're able to change the material reality based on your emotional and energetic reality. Because those concepts logically are going to not make sense to you and fit together always, because it's not practical. But I think that if you can fully buy into this premise again, even after evidence has refuted it in the past, you will find that you can move mountains this way. So I feel like this is saying really that, again, new opportunities are coming your way, and it's going to potentially, eventually change your whole paradigm of like how you view making money and success in the world and things working out for you. And with this eclipse squaring Uranus in the 5th, there's something here that's changing around that where it can be pleasurable. So there might be something around this where it's like, yeah, I can do this thing and it can feel really good. It can feel really easy. It can feel really fun and playful. If you have children, this could also signify some kind of change or disruption with your children, where it's like that's somehow changing the way that you see your material world. I'm not going to go down that path because I don't have an example to give you. But anyway, so this is the energy that I'm seeing. I think that you guys are stepping into this like higher frequency, or like you're able to tap into this higher frequency and positively affect your life and get physical opportunities to manifest. And you need to fully go all in on that. Dare, do, reach, not take a leap of faith necessarily, but like really go after the things that you want and try to energetically align with that again, because it will work. So that's what I'm seeing for you guys. Really random message. I've definitely never had a message like this before. But that makes sense with Aquarius being the second house. It makes sense that energetics and your finances, your worth, your values, like how you see things like that in the material world are all interwoven. And when you turn the dial on one, it will affect the others. So getting an energy clearing can affect your positive self-worth. Trying to be in the energy of the manifestation that you want and be in an energy of gratitude can draw the physical experiences into your life. These are just some examples of things, but I'm not even fully aware of all of them. So hopefully you know what they are for you. And if this resonates, let me know in the comments down below. If you guys want to support my channel, I am trying to grow my following. So I appreciate any support, like a like, subscribe, comment, hype, share, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Bye. All right, up next we have Aquarius rising and sun. So this eclipse on February 17th is a solar eclipse in your sign, Aquarius, which is a pretty significant deal. And I really feel like you guys are going to get this kind of jumpstart energy coming into your life. If you've been feeling really stuck, really stagnant, maybe there's been this specific kind of roadblock or something like that, I really see that being removed from your life. The energy of this eclipse is really speaking to some kind of ascension. And with this being in your first house, there is an ascension with your self. So this could be something about your self concept that is becoming healthier, better. You are getting a better viewpoint and looking at it from a higher perspective. Maybe this is some kind of ascension within the physical body. If you've been struggling with certain physical impairments that have maybe tied you up or slowed you down, or maybe you've been like discontent with certain elements of your looks and body or health, you could see those either like getting somehow unstuck from them, like getting a better mindset around it, a better habit around taking care of your health and your body, more confidence or something here of like, I'm no longer going to be stuck in this limited perspective about myself, about my interests, about my life, about my physical appearance. I'm going to see myself in a more elevated way. I'm going to be more confident, be more positive, reach for more, do more, that type of thing. So this kind of ascension of the self and the self concept. And this eclipse is squaring Uranus in the 4th. So it's very destabilizing as well. Uranus has an energy of disruption. So Uranus in the 4th, there could be some kind of disruption of the status quo. The fourth house is very much the house of rest in many ways, the house where we go to be comfortable. It's representative of our family, of our habits, of our routines. Not routine in like the sixth house sense of like I get up at 7. It's more of our sense of our habits, our unconscious behaviors, the things that we do on autopilot. And often it's because of like the past, right? Things that I've just always done it that way. There's something like that in your energy that you are getting out of. So this square to Uranus, again, represents a disruption. So there's a disruption in the status quo of doing things the way that you've always done them simply because of precedent. And what is this doing for you? So I pulled the Hanged Man in reverse. We have the Six of Wands in reverse and Eight of Pentacles in reverse. So your message was so clear. I just immediately saw it. I feel like you guys are having some kind of mental clarity coming through, some kind of shift in perspective, some kind of wisdom and insight coming to you, new ideas, a way of improving something, maybe having an important conversation with somebody that enlightens you to something. And I say that because the ruler of this eclipse, Saturn, is with Neptune in your third. So there's something about your mind like seeing some kind of possibility, some kind of potential where you once felt stuck. The Hangman in reverse is very stagnant energy. So you once saw a problem, you once saw confusion, uncertainty, doubt, self-doubt. And because you were maybe bumping up against something that was forcing you to be stagnant or stuck, you kind of lacked confidence with the Six of Wands, Eight of Pentacles. Maybe you felt like you weren't good enough at something. Maybe you felt like you weren't able to move something forward in your life because you didn't have that self-belief, or again, weren't good at it. So this is like you wanting to change your body, but you were not confident enough to go to the gym. And so you just didn't put effort into that. And it kind of continued a cycle of like self-doubt. There's something here where I feel like you guys basically felt kind of stuck with something, and then it really got amplified because of your insecurities or your lack of confidence. So this could be anything. Maybe you've always wanted to do a sport, or maybe you've always wanted to write a book or do a certain project, or put yourself out there in the world in some way, or do something that requires like talent and discipline and consistency and effort and things like that. I feel like you guys wanted something to build on and move your life forward in some way, but you didn't, like maybe you didn't have full clarity, or you're stuck on one of the problems around it. Like let's say you did want to start some kind of long-term project. You're like, oh, well, I'm not sure about this thing. And, you know, there's all these like, let's say you want to do an at-home bakery. I don't know where that idea came from. Let's just say that. Maybe this is you being like, yeah, but then I have to get like a license, a food license. Like, how do I do that? And, you know, what would that look like? And I'm not sure if the finances make sense and yada, yada. And then you just, because of that, you stagnate and you don't put energy into this, and you lack confidence of like taking some kind of risk and even developing the skill in the business to do all that. This is just an example. So that's what's being disrupted. That's like the status quo of like staying in your comfort zone, doing the things that you've always done, not moving forward. And I see the pattern that you are now stepping into that's more positive is having some kind of structure and routine with the King of Pentacles, you know, being reliable, being disciplined, being principled, saying, I'm going to do this so I do it. I'm going to build this so I build it. I'm going to sit down and learn this because I need to learn this, instead of like, oh, I don't know how to do this, I'm confused about this, and then allowing that to just like make an excuse and like say, well, I don't know, so I'm not good at this, and lacking the confidence, and that kind of spirals out, right? It's like, no, I'm going to commit to this long-term goal. I'm going to commit to maybe getting my beach body. I'm only saying that because there's like an actual program called that, but something like that where you're like, I'm going to build my health. I said I didn't know how to do it before, and I was lacking confidence to go to the gym, and I wasn't really putting the effort in. now I'm going to make the change. I'm going to get a teacher, maybe a mentor. I'm going to set a schedule. I'm going to download an app. I'm going to learn that thing or teach myself that thing. And I'm going to do it consistently. And I'm going to build strength with the strength card. I'm going to build confidence, build resiliency, build self-trust, and be courageous as well. Like, I'm going to boldly move forward towards this. Instead of just staying in my comfort zone, I'm going to start to change my self-concept. Whereas before I felt weak, whereas before I felt a lack of confidence, now I feel strong. Now I feel proud of myself for developing courage, developing confidence slowly over time. It's okay if you don't immediately feel that way. And with the Knight of Swords, now I make progress. Now I move quickly. Now I'm assertive towards my goals. Instead of just waiting for things to happen to me or for me, I make my decisions, my plans for my long-term things, and I set a goal and I work towards it. And that is how I build confidence, right? That's how I build my skills, instead of just waiting for life to happen to me. Your advice is she who remains powerful, devotion, and true worth. This to me really says that you are going to develop your sense of self-worth and your innate sense of power by showing yourself how committed and how devoted you can be to something that is maybe hard, or something that takes a long time, or to something that gets you out of your comfort zone in a weird way that you haven't done before, or that pushes you to, that edge of discomfort, or not pain, but just like with anything, with strength training, for example, you kind of have to break down and meet certain challenges, and your body has to be put under weight and stress to show how strong you are, to prove to yourself you can do it, to grow the muscle. There has to be that resistance. There has to be a little bit of pain. So there's something like that, not in a negative way, but in a way of building character. And I really feel like that is how you develop confidence, right? It's through the reps. So I really, really see that you guys are going to start getting into a new pattern where you have a lot of self-initiative and a lot of self-discipline. And I really feel like you're going to be sight set on a particular goal, and you're going to be willing to do what it takes to make that goal happen. That goal is going to be different for a lot of you. If it is physical, this is really encouraging that, because this is in the first house of the body. But the first house is also the house of the self, which can relate to anything, of course. So if you have a longer project that you want to do, really allow yourself to do that at this time, because you have all of the right energy, clarity, momentum, and that right level of push from the universe to get off the chair, get off the couch, and do the thing. So that's what I see for you, Aquarius. Very positive for you guys. If this is related or resonating with you, let me know in the comments down below. I am trying to grow my channel this year, so if you want to support that at all, I'd really appreciate that. You can do that in the form of liking the video, commenting, subscribing, hyping, sharing with your friends, any of that. And I hope you guys have a beautiful eclipse. Bye. All right, and last but not least, we have Pisces rising and sun. This Aquarius solar eclipse on February 17th is taking place in your 12th house, and it's squaring Uranus in your 3rd. So I can see you guys definitely having the possibility to have some kind of spiritual awakening right now, something that will really shift your perspective on things, and maybe even have an important conversation or decision that you make as a result of this kind of spiritual guidance coming to you. I definitely see this eclipse as a process of going through some kind of disruption with this square to Uranus, and then also going through a process of ascension. So disrupting the pattern and ascending into a new framework, a new kind of hologram for life. And I feel like it's going to be positive overall. So what is disrupting? We see the 3 of Wands in reverse, the 5 of Swords, and the Strength card. I feel like you guys may have been going through a cycle in your life with some area where you could have been going through some type of contraction. That was the energy that was the word that came through the energy of these cards. So instead of being outwards, expanding, meeting new people, taking new opportunities, socializing more, trying new adventures, this is more the walls closing, things closing in on yourself. You becoming maybe more cloistered. Maybe you are, again, just contracting in some facet of your life. So maybe you just felt like you were I don't know, for whatever reason, could have lacked confidence, or there could have just been life changes that just naturally we go through periods of expansion and contraction. I would not say that this is a negative thing. I would say it's a natural thing. It's a part of life. It's a cyclical part of life. So I feel like you guys have been going through a contraction period where, again, life has maybe felt smaller or in some ways, or you felt like you weren't maybe meeting as many new people or opportunities, less adventurous and more kind of nervous, almost like a little bit of self-doubt, a little bit of trepidation. Maybe your energy wasn't very strong. Maybe your sense of self, or maybe you're going through something that was kind of throwing you off. And again, that sense of self might have not have felt strong enough to kind of go out there and try to do more out in the world. Definitely, again, a sense of like contraction. And then the Strength card was the last thing here. So what I think is disrupting is that you're getting out of that period of contraction by becoming stronger in some way. And I really think with this eclipse being in the 12th house, part of what's strengthening your resolve and your kind of determination and your sense of fortitude is coming from a different type of spiritual awareness. So there might be something quite freeing that happens for you in terms of your perspective and your mindset and your clarity as a result of feeling like something is shifting on the spiritual plane, or like some kind of cycle has ended and you can feel this kind of shift in energy. It's not always going to be something so obviously physical. I think you're going to feel it like as if it were, but I think the circumstances are going to actually be, again, quite spiritual and energetic, which was really similar to someone else's reading. I think it was Capricorn. Very interesting, which makes sense because signs like Aquarius, signs like Pisces are very energetic in nature. So an eclipse for you in Aquarius, Pisces is going to very much speak to that affecting you, your energy. So, okay, so the world might have felt contracting. Your life in some respects might have felt contracting because maybe you felt, again, not totally strong enough to handle it. The thing that's disrupting and changing is this shift in perspective, you becoming stronger. And again, I think this is happening on a spiritual plane. I see Page of Cups. This is like youthfulness, idealism, sensitivity. I'm really getting that sense of like that sensitivity piece. That's really quite common for Pisces. You guys maybe have been feeling just very open. And part of your kind of new reality, I guess. Luna. Sorry, my dog has been really, in one of the other videos too, you'll see like my dog has been really like biting herself and itching herself a lot. So I don't know if she has allergies. If you guys know anything about that, let me know. But yeah, Page of Cups, there's something about you that has been very sensitive and open. And I think, again, this is part of why you might have been contracting, because maybe you've just gone through a lot of life changes, or you've had a lot that your soul has been processing, or there's a lot going on in the world. So maybe you've kind of pulled back some of your energy. With the 7 of Swords and 8 of Swords, I think you're really going to start to see why that was happening. But also, more importantly, I feel like, I don't know, I almost get this sense that you're still sensitive. Like that doesn't change. You're still Pisces. You're still sensitive. You're still kind of wearing your heart on your sleeve in a way. But I'm getting the sense that you're going to like develop more of a kind of psychic membrane. So this is like a spiritual, energetic, and emotional barrier that will be permeable if you allow it to be. Like things can come in and out, but it protects you energetically so that you can't just be accessed by anything whenever. So yeah, I'm getting a sense that like maybe, again, your world contracted a bit. Maybe you didn't feel like you could go out and do all the things that you wanted to do or have all this energy. But I think part of that is because you as a soul and emotionally were feeling quite sensitive. And now I still think you're sensitive, but again, you're developing this kind of psychic membrane that's going to allow you to be sensitive and go out into the world and take more chances somehow, or expand your world more. There's something about that. So I feel like you guys are going to be able to, like if you get into a funk with something, or if you start like going through a process of undermining yourself through limiting beliefs or self-sabotage, or if you feel like something goes wrong and it really throws you off and that kind of contracts you. I feel like that used to be your process, like that used to be your pattern, but now I don't see that happening. I think that you're going to be a lot more strong. And if this is like, let me just give you an example. If this is with relationships, for example, maybe you would put yourself out there and you would try to like connect with people, and then you would get anxiety because maybe something went wrong. Maybe something went wrong in the connection or what you said, or you would overthink something and you maybe felt rejected, or there's some kind of internal turmoil around it. And so you would contract and you pull your energy back. You'd be like, okay, I'm just not going to do that. Like, I'm too sensitive right now to take this kind of emotional risk. But I see what's happening with this pattern is that you are ascending past it. You are becoming stronger, where you can still be open-hearted, you can still be sensitive, you can still really care, but there's a lot, like almost like you're developing maybe tools or more of that, like that's the inner strength or that psychic membrane to not get so thrown off by the things that do go wrong, by the person having weird energy that day that maybe used to throw your day off because you absorbed it, and maybe you even got confused if that was about you or not, and you made it mean this and that. And instead of doing that, I see you guys being able to have more of that sense of boundary. And I think that comes from the fact that the ruler of this eclipse, Saturn, is in Aries, and Aries is all about that sense of self and separation of yourself from others. It's about boundaries. It's about having a really strong self-worth and self-confidence that doesn't get easily shaken by external factors. And I think that you guys are developing a stronger connection to spirit and to yourself. And that stronger psychic membrane also is some type of protective layer. And both of those things combined is giving you the ability to sense when something isn't yours, to sense when you can let something go, or when something needs to be acted on, or when there needs to be a boundary, or how to navigate something clearly. How to really process something and release it if it's not yours. Like, I think that you're going to get really good at that stuff so that you're able to go out into the world with the Empress more open-hearted, and not like, I think you were open-hearted before, but I don't know. I see that the world is going to meet you with more energy of receiving and abundance and like open doors, because I think that you are going to have more capacity to be able to like hold the good and also to keep the bad out, if that makes sense. Like, yeah, that membrane, I think, is going to protect you in a way that you're going to have more capacity. You're going to be able to hold more, try more, do more. It really also feels like a very powerful energy of manifestation as well, because if you have that psychic membrane, I think that you're developing a greater connection to spirit. I think that your powers of imagination with this dreams and fantasy card, I really feel like you guys are going to have a very strong imagination. You might have some downloads. You might have some really cool visions and things come to you, or intuitions around what to do next with something come to you. I just think you're kind of more porous when it comes to spirit, but when it comes to like lower energies, you have a better barrier. So working on that membrane is going to help you also strengthen your connection to the divine, to receive these really cool opportunities in the form of like a vision or a download or an idea randomly, which I think is that square to Uranus in the third. It's just like an aha moment of like, oh, I can do that. I've never thought about that before. That's a great idea. Especially if you've been trying to create something with this creativity card, you're going to have your own way of doing something that is unique to you. That's going to be a random download, or again, something coming to you out of thin air, because you are protecting your energy more and not getting so muddled from outside influences, other people's energies, other people's emotions, distractions from the world that pull on you and kind of take you outside of your center and outside of yourself and outside of your connection with spirit. I see you, again, protecting yourself more, having that layer around you. And because of that, I also feel like you will have a more authentic expression, because you're not being diluted. You're not questioning yourself. You're not getting into anxiety. Like, you're able to tap purely into like spirit and purely into your essence and translate those ideas and those messages into your creative works, into your ideas, into anything that you're trying to do, to be more authentic, to be more original and more in alignment with who you are, because again, you're not letting the outside in as much. And then lastly, she who nurtures empathy, gentle, and insight. So these are your advice cards. So I should have said that. So that's your advice of what to do. But also the last piece of advice is to nurture yourself. So how you can keep up this psychic membrane is to nurture yourself. This could look like going to therapy. This could look like setting boundaries. This could look like doing things that will help really increase that sense of like self-worth, and like with Saturn and Neptune being the second, doing things in your physical life to take care of your spiritual and emotional life, going to bed on time, eating well, again, saying no to certain things, spending money on certain things or not on certain things, just nurturing yourself in all of the facets. Maybe this is meditating more, like whatever this is, really basic stuff. But I think that you are meant to be really creating that kind of nurturing, energetic bubble, because so many cool downloads are going to come to you, and you're no longer going to be in such a sensitive phase where you have to just contract your energy. I think you're going to be able to really be dynamic and sensitive and out in the world and growing and expressing yourself creatively. A lot of opportunities are coming from this, and I think you're going to be quite psychic during this time as well. So that's what I see for you, Pisces. I hope that makes sense. It's kind of ambiguous, but I think you will know what I mean because you are very good at the abstract, Pisces. So if you enjoyed this, let me know in the comments down below how it resonates or makes sense for your life, because that helps everybody. Also, if you want to support my channel, I am trying to grow my subscribers. So if you want to be a part of that, you can help me by subscribing yourself, by liking the video, commenting, hyping it, sharing with a friend. Any of that is greatly appreciated. And I hope you have a beautiful eclipse.